The above is the basic situation of the Big Mom pirates. In the huge conference hall, the atmosphere was full of seriousness and depression. After Suru Vice Admiral finished introducing the information about the Big Mom pirates, Kong, the Marine Admiral, said loudly with a sonorous and forceful voice, "Now, I announce the appointment of Admiral of Headquarters Sengoku as the Supreme Commander of the Expedition Grand Fleet. Leading, Akainu, Kizaru, Aokiji, Steel Fist, Dalmatian, Flying Insect, etc., a total of 10 Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral, of which Akainu is the Deputy Conductor. I will issue an official document later." Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral Oren Fist Garp was temporarily transferred to the G5 branch, temporarily serving as the base chief. The staff of Naval Headquarters is responsible for coordinating the logistics of the large expeditionary fleet and other aspects related to IFF. The task of G5 is mainly to prevent pirate forces headed by the Whitebeard pirates, Beasts pirates and other big pirates from taking the opportunity to attack the G5 fortress, and is ready to support the lone army at any time to go deep into the hinterland in the middle half of New World, as the expeditionary fleet of the Toto Land Sea area of the Four Seasons, camp of the Big Mom pirates. As the current Marine in New World, apart from the G1 branch, which is mainly responsible for defending the central holy land of the world government, Marie Joyce, at the New World portal, the G5 branch has important strategic significance, and it is also the only one directly under the Naval Headquarters A New World that can infiltrate limited influence into a New World that is almost completely reduced to pirate paradise. Radiation around the entrance of the first half of New World, so as to deter those New World pirates, so that they don't dare to act recklessly as a bridgehead, and no mistakes are allowed. Although intelligence shows that the Whitebeard pirates, Beasts pirates and other major pirate forces have not made any major moves, they cannot be taken lightly, and they must always maintain a high degree of vigilance to prevent these pirate forces from suddenly joining forces. The meeting of the Marine senior generals lasted until the evening. As night fell, many Naval Headquarters generals who were already hungry stood up and saluted following Kong's order to dismiss the meeting. With heavy, serious, worried, relaxed and other moods, they left this conference hall one after another. However, they have just been appointed as the Commander-in-Chief and Deputy Commander of the large fleet of this expedition, Marine Admiral Sengoku, Admirals Alternate Akainu, and Marine Staff Officer Suru Vice Admiral, who is in charge of coordinating the logistical support of the large fleet and other aspects of the expedition. None of them left immediately. Instead, he followed Kong, the Marine Marshal, to the Marshal's office, discussing the specific combat plan for this expedition against the Big Mom pirates. Unfortunately, that fellow Zephyr refuses to come out and insists on staying at the Marine Academy as his chief instructor. Kong, bold and grandiose, sat on the seats behind the desk and motioned for Sengoku, Suru Vice Admiral, Akainu and others to sit down without formalities. The Marine Marshal rubbed his brows wearily, and said helplessly, "Otherwise, with him, the Black Arm, Admiral, in these years, the pressure on Marine would not be so great, and Sengoku wouldn't have to work so hard, supporting Marine Admiral's two-place vacancy." Black Arm Zephyr. At only 38 years old, he became a Marine Admiral, a heroic figure with high prestige in the Marine and even among the people, admired and worshipped by countless people. 13 years ago, at the age of 42, he was in his heyday. He was supposed to have a bright future, but he resigned from the position of Admiral of Headquarters due to some unforeseen circumstances. After he ceased to be Marine Admiral, he was transferred to the position of Chief Instructor of the Marine Academy, officially retiring to the second line. No longer active on the front lines as before. It has to be said that this is a huge loss for Marine. Although, as the General Instructor of the Marine Academy, he often leads those students to conduct actual combat training in the first half of the Grand Line, it is inevitable that he will go to the battlefield to fight against some rebellious pirates. But the targets are all pirates who are not strong. To be honest, if Zephyr, the former Admiral of Headquarters, can form a Marine guerrilla team, wander between the G5 fortress in the middle half of New World, and be responsible for coordinating the actions of the large expeditionary fleet, and strictly guard against New World's other imminent moves, the sudden intervention of the pirate forces in the world will ensure that Marine's actions this time will be foolproof. It's a pity that he has retreated to the second line. No matter how much I persuade him, he can't change his determination. Think of the old minion, Black Arm, Zephyr. Kong couldn't help sighing secretly, feeling a little unspeakably guilty. This Black Arm, Admiral retreated to the second line, not just talking, but really determined not to go to the front line again. Over the years, he has served as the chief instructor at the Marine Academy, and he has trained a large number of new generation backbones for Marine, because Marine continues to send new blood. In recent years, the elites trained by Black Arm Zephyr, including Akainu, Kizaru, and Aokiji, 3 admiral candidates, have gradually begun to emerge in Marine and grow into the indispensable backbone of naval headquarters. Even Kong, the Marine Marshal, can no longer force the other party to do anything. After all, the former Marine Admiral has done enough for Marine. Although he said that incident back then was out of good intentions, and he didn't intend to specifically target or suppress the other party, but after all, out of various considerations, he acquiesced. Who would have thought that such a flaw would appear in the perfect plan that was supposed to be under control? After all, that incident. Buddha Sengoku sighed softly. But he has a deep taboo, and he didn't elaborate on why the former Black Arm Zephyr, the former Admiral of Headquarters, insisted on retiring to the second line and was unwilling to take up the post of Admiral of Headquarters again. For Marine, it was an unprecedentedly sensational event. It also made the entire Marines face dull and disheartened. Anyway, if it wasn't for Marshal Kong, you kept trying to keep him. Buddha Sengoku said helplessly. Zephyr not only retreated to the second line to serve as the chief instructor of the Marine Academy, and continued to stay in the Marine to shine and cultivate new blood for the Marine, but has already quit the Marine. Ms. Zephyr. Akainu raised his eyebrows, and said in a deep voice, I've heard about his misfortune, but the reason for it puzzles me a lot. I've always wanted to ask Marshal Kong for advice. 13 years ago, Admiral of Headquarters, Black Arm, Zephyr, who was in its heyday, faced unprecedented revenge and persecution against his family members who were let off by the pirates who he never thought of but secretly hated him. Frustrated, he resigned from the position of Admiral, retreated to the second line and transferred to the position of Chief Instructor of the Marine Academy, an elite training camp opened by the Marine Academy. Therefore, together with Ghost Spider, Doberman, Peluzolino and others, he became the disciple of Mr. Zephyr and the first trainee of the Marine Academy's elite training camp. But Sakazuki doesn't believe it. Admiral at Naval Headquarters, will Marine not be responsible for the safety of his relatives? In that case, for nearly 800 years, incidents such as the family members of Marine high-level executives being retaliated by pirates have long been unknown. Who is willing to join Marine and dedicate their lives to justice? It's just a joke, it's a big joke in the world. Hearing Akainu suddenly ask, it wasn't just Kong himself who had a subtle change in his complexion. Sengoku of the Buddha and Suru Vice Admiral couldn't help but jump in their hearts when they heard the words. Because they know that this matter is not as simple as it seems. It is not just the negligence of the Marine side, but also the shadow of Cipher Pole, which is related to the top level of the world government. All aspects involved in this matter are too complicated, especially Marshal Kong in front of him has been faintly involved in it. It can be said that has always been a taboo topic among Marine executives, and it is kept secret. Not to mention asking the question grandly in front of Kong, the Marine Marshal. Sakazuki. Buddha Sengoku looked serious, and wanted to change the topic. What we are going to discuss now is not these digressions. He didn't want this powerful and promising admiral candidate to offend Kong because of his youthful arrogance, and directly cause the Marine Marshal's displeasure. Zephyr. No problem. There was a moment of silence. Kong waved his hand. Signaling Sengoku and Suru Vice Admiral not to be restrained, he sighed lightly. What you should know is still to know. This is also a bloody lesson for Marine. Whether it is Marine or world government, in the final analysis, they are only human beings, not gods. They think they can control everything from above, but they never think that if there is any mistake in the decision-making, the consequences could be fatal and irreparable. Inside the Marshal's office, which was brightly lit and as bright as day. Looking at Akainu, who is young and energetic, with firm eyes, looking straight at him without flinching. Kong didn't intend to reprimand him. With a solemn face, he said in a deep voice, my boss is also responsible for this matter. Xiaohei, Sengoku. You guys should listen to it too. In fact, the old man has kept it in his heart for quite a long time. As he spoke, Kong looked at Sengoku and Suru Vice Admiral, and asked with a wry smile, are you all blaming me about Zephyr? Sengoku looked serious, looking at his boss, who has been diligently adhering to justice and has worked hard for Marine for decades. He said seriously, Marshal Kong, although I don't know the specific truth very well, but I believe that your original intention is definitely not to suppress Zephyr. You should have your own considerations. Marshal Kong, it depends on what you mean. Suru Vice Admiral was calm and didn't have much volatility. She looked at Kong, who seemed to have suddenly aged more than 10 years, with a complicated expression, and faced guilt, and said bluntly, the truth back then was not just that the top level of the world government ordered Cipher Pole to target and suppress Zephyr, but that there were other, but unfortunately the situation is completely out of your control? It stands to reason that with Black Arm Zephyr's gentle personality, he doesn't even have the ambition to compete for the naval headquarters marshal, so it is impossible to have any irreconcilable conflict with the above. But there is a shadow of cipher pole in it. Without the high-level instructions of the world government, those guys from the CP agency would not dare to make a claim, even if they had the courage to set up a scheme to murder a relative of the admiral of headquarters. And if Kong, the Marine Marshal, is completely unaware, it is obviously not the case. When the pirates attacked Zephyr's hometown back then, it was ordered by the top level of the world government. Cipher Pole set up a bureau, and the old man knew about it and acquiesced. What? Sengoku, Suru Vice Admiral and the others couldn't help but change their faces when they heard the words. Akainu's gaze became even sharper, staring at the Marine Marshal, a little unbelievable. An admiral of headquarters who fought bloody battles on the front line for the sake of the Marine and for justice, and his relatives were attacked by high-level design pirates. I just feel ridiculous. I couldn't bear the anger of leaving. It's not what you think. Seeing this, Kong smiled wryly. He stopped hiding and told the reason. It turned out that Cipher Pole's actions back then. It's not about taking down Black Arm, Zephyr, the high-spirited admiral of headquarters in his prime. It's because the Black Arm, Admiral, who pursues the concept of don't kill, and treats pirates too gently, is soft-hearted towards pirates, often letting go of pirates who were caught by him without authorization. Dissatisfied. I have hunted countless pirates in my life, but never killed a single person. Can you imagine that the dignified admiral of headquarters is so soft-hearted? But this absurd and funny thing, which even a 3-year-old child would not believe, actually happened. Instigated by the high level of the world government, Kong, the Marshal of the Marine, after careful consideration, acquiesced, and Cipher Pole set up a scheme to leak the information of the Admiral of Headquarters family intentionally or unintentionally, attracting the pirates that Black Arm Zephyr had let go because of soft-heartedness to come to revenge. Originally, the Marine side got the ventilation from the CP agency in advance, and they have already made full preparations. The main thing is to frighten the Admiral who does not kill. Stimulate the confrontation. I hope that his heart and mind can be changed. From now on, at least I can behave like an Admiral of Headquarters, be a little more cruel to those pirates who do all kinds of evil, and no longer be so soft-hearted. As a result, unexpected mistakes happened, resulting in the tragic death of Black Arm, Zephyr's wife and children. Marine, who was in charge of stationing near Black Arm Zephyr's hometown at that time, did get the information from the CP agency in advance. He should have dispatched immediately as soon as he knew that the pirates were coming, and arranged an ambush in advance to wipe them out. There was nothing wrong with the plan, and the CP agents in charge of the execution didn't make any mistakes or omissions. But the problem is with the Marine base's top officer. He was a guy who joined Marine because his family was killed by pirates. He hated pirates to the extreme and had a paranoid and distorted personality. He couldn't understand Black Arm, Zephyr, the Admiral of Headquarters. With the appearance of fake benevolence, hypocrisy, and compassion, he has long been dissatisfied with his behavior of letting the pirates go because of soft-heartedness. He thinks that if he wants to do it, he must do it thoroughly. If this Admiral of Headquarters has the same experience as himself, he will be able to be ruthless towards those damn pirates. So, cruelly, he deliberately delayed. As a result, the Marines stationed in that sea area failed to dispatch in time. Black Arm, Zephyr, who rushed back immediately after receiving the news, also arrived late. It caused a catastrophe. After hearing the truth from Kong himself. Whether it was Sengoku, Suru Vice Admiral, or Akainu, they all fell silent. The situation is like this. It was originally instructed by the top of the world government, planned by Cipher Pole, and tacitly approved by the top of the Marine. His clenched fists were full of veins, and Kong, the Marine Marshal, lowered his head and said with some self-deprecating, "It should be safe, but the plan to let that, do not kill, Admiral experience a perfect transformation of heart and nature is precisely because of ignoring people's hearts lead to a failure of success, and a bitter fruit. Not to mention the loss of Marine's face, and the loss of a promising Admiral." Marshal Kong. Do these Zephyrs know? Buddha Sengoku looked at Kong and asked in a deep voice. As a comrade in arms of Black Arm Zephyr at the same time, sometimes he, Marine Admiral, also felt that Zephyr was too soft-hearted, too idealistic and naive. Even Garp, who has a carefree personality, usually does his own way, and is somewhat heartless, is not as exaggerated as Zephyr and Admiral. He often feels pity because some pirates are crying for mercy, complaining, and cheating. With a soft heart, let the other party go directly. But he never expected that Zephyr's relatives were murdered for such a reason. An admiral's originally happy life was ruined because of such absurd reasons. This made him really unacceptable. Well, he knows, I confessed everything to him personally, and even gave him a gun directly, telling him that if he is resentful, he can shoot me, the boss. Kong closed his eyes. Sitting there powerlessly, with unspeakable guilt and self-blame. It is the old man who is sorry for him. It was his arrogance and self-righteousness that ruined a Marine admiral who had a bright future and a promising future. Without the acquiescence of his Marine marshal, the world government would not rashly instigate, and Cypher Pole would not dare to act without authorization. But Zephyr is very clear about his position, and understands the importance of you, the Marine marshal, to the entire Marine, so he chose to bear everything alone. Suru Vice Admiral looked at Kong and spoke quietly. Decades of camaraderie, she knows Zephyr all too well. The Marshal of Naval Headquarters was killed by Admiral of Naval Headquarters. If such a thing really happened, it is self-evident how much it would hit Marine and how bad it would be to the increasingly turbulent sea situation at that time. Therefore, the black-wrist Zephyr was willing to bear everything alone and chose to retire, but Kong tried his best to keep him. In the bottom of his heart, he still insists on justice. Although he resigned from the position of Admiral and retired to the second line to transfer to the instructor of Marine College, he still stays in the Marine and devotes himself to cultivating new blood. What a gentle and strong man, Teacher Zephyr. Even someone as resolute and ruthless as Akainu couldn't help admiring the former Black Arm Admiral. Even if the concept of justice is different, and he thinks the benevolence of the other woman is too pedantic, he also sincerely admires the other party. Because of the absurd ideas of the high level, such an unfortunate thing happened, but they had to compromise because of the justice in their hearts. It's hard to imagine, how strong is that Teacher Zephyr's heart? Report. At this time, outside the gate of the office, Kong's adjutant hurried over. Standing at attention there and yelling, "Come in." Kong cleaned up his depressed mood and restored his former majesty. Looking at the adjutant who walked in, he asked in a deep voice, "What's the matter?" "Marshal empty. Just now there is information from Cypher Pole. Just this afternoon, the thrilling nobleman, Charlotte Wilhelm, has been officially appointed by Big Mom as the fourth dessert star of the Charlotte family, serving as Minister of Love, in charge of the Island of Love in the Sea of Toto Land." The fourth general? Akainu had no expression on his face and snorted coldly. Both Sengoku and Suru Vice Admiral looked calm, not surprised. After all, the kid from the Charlotte family is indeed qualified to be the general of the Big Mom Pirates no matter in terms of strength or bounty. Minister of Love, such a cold-blooded and ruthless executioner is really ironic. Go back in time a little. Just half a day ago. In the middle half of New World, Toto Land Sea Area. The headquarters of the Big Mom Pirates, Cake Island. That's it. Ah, Lord Wilhelm, welcome back. Master Wilhelm, you are so handsome. As expected of the trembling young master, how noble and powerful. All of a sudden, Master Wilhelm's bounty has become the first person under Mother, and even Master Katakori is slightly inferior. It is said that the very melodious golden bell was brought back by Master Wilhelm from the legendary Sky Island. Snow White Vulture, winged from high above, flew over the port of Cake Island, but did not stop. It swept straight to the huge Cake Castle located in the center of the island, and rushed directly to the highest level. The pirates of the Big Mom Pirate Group and the soldiers of Homies were a little overjoyed after they realized it. Their faces were flushed with excitement, and they waved their hands enthusiastically, full of admiration and awe. The top floor of the Cake Castle, a huge bell tower stands there. The golden light is shining. It is the golden clock that Wilhelm asked Smoothie to bring back. Although this thing is very gorgeous, Wilhelm didn't have much interest in it, so he threw it directly to Charlotte Linlin and placed it on the Cake Castle. Anyway, sooner or later it will belong to him. Mama, Wilhelm, my dear child, welcome back. The tall figure of Charlotte Linlin was sitting on the throne in the cake hall. Looking at the handsome young man who just slipped off Finger's back and walked straight into the main hall, he opened his arms and grinned happily. It's getting more and more handsome, it's not bad. My dear Her Majesty, Anne. With his right hand across his chest, Wilhelm bowed to Charlotte Linlin above. You're still so out of touch. Charlotte Linlin said with a happy smile, Mama, the historical text and the golden clock you brought back this time are very good, although that thing is completely incomprehensible. Although she couldn't understand the historical text inlaid on the clock tower. But the melodious sound of the golden clock, which seems to be able to cleanse people's hearts, makes people feel peaceful, Even the irritable and moody Charlotte Linlin is very satisfied. It's really good, son. Prometheus's anthropomorphic face was also grinning there. Wearing a baseball cap, the snow-white thundercloud, Zeus said cutely. The sound of the golden bell is very beautiful. This is a gift specially given to you, Her Majesty the Queen, and only you are worthy of this noble and generous golden clock. As long as Mom likes it. Wilhelm said with a light smile. Such a great gift. Seeing that Wilhelm can speak so well, Charlotte Linlin couldn't help but grin, and said regretfully, if it wasn't for the wrong timing, I would like to hold a grand tea party to celebrate, and by the way let those guys from the underground world open your eyes, mama. Don't worry about this. If Mom wants to hold a tea party, wait until you win a big victory this time, and then hold a grand celebration banquet and invite all the famous guys over here. Wilhelm said with a smile, Mama, you're right. Charlotte Linlin smiled happily. He casually grabbed a handful of exquisite pastries and stuffed them into his mouth, and asked with some interest, I heard that this time, you have recruited a few capable guys from outside? After all, it's too much trouble, and I can't keep a low profile. Wilhelm shrugged his shoulders and said with a light smile, it is inevitable that we will come back to serve as the general. Since we are going to form a fleet, we must have a few guys who can stand up, so that we can look good. But they just came back from outside, so I let them rest in the Juice Island temporarily, and I will bring them to see their mother in a few days. Mama, if you like it, you can do whatever you want. Charlotte Linlin didn't care too much, but said unquestionably, however, outsiders are unreliable. If they want to become the cadres of the Big Mom Pirates, they have to become a family. Wilhelm was not surprised, and said indifferently, after the conflict with Marine this time is over, I'll ask them for their opinions. It would be great if there is mutual understanding. Although Charlotte Linlin asked Shiryu of the Rain and others to marry the Charlotte family. But twisted melons are not sweet. If Shiryu and the others are unwilling, Wilhelm will not force them. At worst, they will make an agreement with the daughters of the Charlotte family in advance, and both parties will just pretend to get away with Charlotte Linlin. Of course, the three Smoothie sisters and a few other female members of the Charlotte family who have a good relationship with themselves. Wilhelm would never allow Charlotte Linlin to use them as marriage tools. Mama, now that you are ready, I will officially appoint you, Wilhelm, as the fourth dessert star of the Charlotte family. Looking at this unbelievably handsome work, that perfectly inherited her own talent, Charlotte Linlin was indescribably satisfied, and said with a big smile, you will be in charge of the Island of Love and be the Minister of Love. The sea area of Toto Land is centered on Cake Island, surrounded by 34 islands dotted around. Most of the islands are rich in one type of food, condiments, and specialty products, such as candy, flour, chocolate, cream, etc., and are governed by Charlotte Linlin, the minister, personally conferred by the Queen. For example, the eldest son Perospero is the Minister of Candy, the Candy Island under his jurisdiction, the second son Katakori is the Minister of Flour, the town of Wheat Island Bolakfen is in charge of management, and the 14th daughter Smoothie is the Minister of Fruit Juice. The 100% management of Juice Island Fruit Tree Town, the third daughter of the Charlotte family, Nut Minister, Armand Nut Island Peanut Town, etc. Thus forming a huge kingdom, Toto Land Kingdom. It is extremely ironic that Big Mom, Charlotte Linlin, who is moody, cruel and tyrannical, and who ruthlessly destroys a country because of delicious food or other absurd reasons, claims to establish Toto Land. The original intention of kingdom is to hope that this country can become a utopia that unifies all races in the world. Therefore, the Kingdom of Toto Land is also called All Nations. The Island of Love, which Wilhelm was canonized, is different from other islands such as Wheat Island, Candy Island, Juice Island, and Biscuit Island, which are often famous for specialties such as food condiments. It is a warm and open summer island with a holiday style. On the island, you can see those young, beautiful, bold and enthusiastic girls everywhere. In terms of scenery, it is relatively good. In terms of overall style, it is almost the same as Doris Rosa. The difference is that there is no such huge rock as a barrier on the edge of the island, and it is full of golden sandy beaches. The most important thing is that there is a huge natural iron mine in the underground of the Island of Love, which has amazing reserves and contains a large amount of copper, aluminum, tungsten and other metal elements. Originally, it was not easy to mine these copper iron mines that were buried deep underground, a full 100 meters deep, but under the action of Charlotte Linlin's exaggerated soul fruit ability, this problem was easily solved. The resources on that island were exactly what Wilhelm needed. I have to say that the sea area of Toto Land is indeed a treasure land. Spring, summer, autumn and winter season islands are dotted around the Cake Island, rich in resources, and you can buy everything you want. Otherwise, Charlotte Linlin would not hesitate to occupy here for decades. Mama, inside the spacious cake hall. Charlotte Linlin laughed happily, looked at Wilhelm who was flattered and humiliated, and asked, "My dear son Wilhelm, from today onwards, you are the Minister of Love who is in charge of the island of Lovetown. What else do you have? Needs?" "There really are." Wilhelm nodded. "If you want to form a fleet, don't worry about it for now, wait until this conflict is over." He was not polite, looked at Junluo Linlin and said directly, "I will borrow some soul from your mother." "Oh?" Charlotte Linlin was amazed. Looking at Wilhelm in surprise, she thought that this son would directly ask her for someone, arms and supplies. Swipe. Wilhelm didn't buy anything, he probed with his right hand. A laser cannon that was specially brought over from the Juice Island before departure was directly transferred from the back of Fingley from the outside world. Bazooka? Charlotte Linlin raised her eyebrows. It looks different from ordinary rocket launchers. She looked at the sci-fi looking laser gun in Wilhelm's hand, which was much larger than ordinary shoulder-fired rocket launchers. Grinning his teeth, he said with a disapproving smile, "Wilhelm, do you want me to inject my soul into it and make it a creature?" "Of course, this is a laser cannon built by my scientist Dr. Hawkins, which can shoot high-heat laser beams." Wilhelm nodded, and said bluntly, "Yes, don't doubt it, it is the kind of laser weapon that my mother knows, that only exists in science fiction books. Its power is not comparable to ordinary rocket launchers." Talking. He stopped talking nonsense. He directly held the laser cannon with one hand and pointed it at the sky outside the main hall. Squeezed the firing trigger. In an instant, the dazzling golden light illuminated the entire hall, making it impossible to look directly at. Charlotte Linlin, who was at the top, couldn't help squinting her eyes. Call out. The next moment, a beam of dazzling laser beams blasted out brazenly. It shot towards the distant sky like lightning, and disappeared in a blink of an eye. "Mom, are you okay?" Wilhelm threw the steaming laser cannon directly at Charlotte Linlin. Mama. Charlotte Linlin was very interested in playing with the laser cannon, which can only be regarded as a pistol, to her, and said happily, "Wilhelm, you actually brought back such a talent, you can create, it's amazing to make such a laser weapon." Talking. A strange brilliance flashed across her hands. Activate the ability of the soul fruit, and inject a small part of the soul power stored in the body on weekdays into the laser cannon, making it live instantly. The metal lines are perfect, and on the extremely cool gun barrel, an anthropomorphic face appears directly, laughing there. Cannon. "Mom, my goal is not just to turn the laser cannon into homies." Looking at the homies-ized laser cannon, Wilhelm seemed not satisfied. Shaking his head there, he said, "Dr. Hawkins is an ability user who ate munch fruit. He can turn anything he swallows into a part of his body, or synthesize new things. The metal substances swallowed in the stomach are directly fused into the extremely hard Hawkins alloy. This is a new type of shape memory alloy, which can be called indestructible. Its performance is far better than that of steel, and it has extremely high scientific research value. Forget it, you don't understand these mothers. You just need to know that even a mother your main naval gun on the Queen singing can't leave even the slightest trace on the Hawkins alloy that is only 1 centimeter thick." After briefly introducing Dr. Hawkins' ability and the strength of the shape memory alloy, Wilhelm said directly to Charlotte Linlin, "So I want to ask you for some soul power, so that Dr. Hawkins can build batches of super strong defensive we will use powerful, invulnerable new homies soldiers, and equip them all with such laser cannons, so that they can be used in the next war to deal with the marine attack." Although he can use the ability of the raccoon cat Pato to transform into Charlotte Linlin to harvest souls, but in the end it is better to ask Charlotte Linlin directly, which is convenient and easy. Especially, Charlotte Linlin is a moody woman. Don't look at her talking and laughing with him now. She says her dear son on the left, and her dear Wilhelm on the right. If you see her being conjured up, and the counterfeit is not only similar to her in appearance, but also has the same ability. It's hard to say that she, who is used to being superior, may feel that she has been offended, and she will directly become angry from embarrassment. The underground of the Island of Love has always been rich in mineral resources. It was originally the munitions raw material base of our Big Mom pirates. It is just suitable for Dr. Hawkins to use his munch fruit ability. I believe it should be able to use it in the shortest time. Within a short period of time, create a considerable number of new homies legions. He said, the equivalent of a homies type pacifist. Homies creatures are not all of low IQ. The higher the quality of the injected soul, the higher its intelligence. After all, the difference between the soul of a strong man and the soul of an ordinary person is self-evident. In the Big Mom pirate group, the few powerful homies cadres are the best among them. But to create such a powerful cadre-level homies life, the conditions are too harsh. Even the Big Mom pirates don't have many. Just like he killed all the homies brought out by Smoothie, transferred their soul power and injected them into the somersault cloud, but he didn't make it have much intelligence. Compared with artificial humans, it not only saves time and cost, but also is more convenient to build. As long as there are enough souls, it can be mass-produced quickly. But unlike the artificial man who obeys orders and has no thoughts of his own, Homies has his own thoughts. Even if he is naturally full of awe of the creator Charlotte Linlin, there is still the possibility of betrayal. But for now, this is indeed the most time-saving and labor-saving method. If there is a huge Homies-type pacifist army, even if it's just a low-profile version, in the next war, it will definitely bring a big surprise to Marine. Mama, that's really good. Charlotte Linlin was overjoyed, and said with a big smile, if you can really create that kind of Homies Legion, you can have as much soul power as you want. Mom, Wilhelm. At this time, outside the hall, there were footsteps, and Katakuri walked in from outside. Besides him, there was a man in his 30s with dark blue hair. Wears a gorgeous gown with a large stand-up collar, a top hat with a lot of candy, and holds a candy cane in his hand. The pointed face with a smile, the long nose and long tongue attract people's attention. Generally speaking, although the dress is gorgeous, it doesn't make people feel so noble at all. It's more like a clown, who just walked out of a circus and wears a monkey crown. This is Perispero, the eldest son of the Charlotte family and one of the 4 dessert generals, Minister of Candy. Big brother Perispero, Kotaku, Lee big brother. Katakuri, Perispero, you two are here. Wilhelm and Charlotte Linlin looked at Katakuri and Perispero. He, Mom, after all, the most popular brother of our Charlotte family, Wilhelm, is back. Perispero salutes Charlotte Linlin. He looked at the young and handsome Wilhelm, who was dressed in gorgeous clothes, looked like a gentleman, and was so perfect that people couldn't help but be jealous of Wilhelm. By the way, brother Wilhelm, I heard from Katakuri that you changed his devil fruit ability. Wu Envy said, the ability of Logia air fruit is really enviable. He didn't expect that Wilhelm could do such an exaggerated thing. Let Katakuri, who is already a user of Nuo fruit, become a user of Logia air fruit. This is the top Logia ability. It almost made his jaw drop to the ground with envy. Mama, by the way, I almost forgot. When Charlotte Linlin heard this, she patted her head suddenly, and asked Wilhelm with a smile. I was shocked when I saw Katakuri's ability is completely different from the ability of the Nuo fruit before. Mama, it's unbelievable. Can you do this kind of thing? Yes, Mom. This time I have been honing outside, and my ability to transfer fruits has developed a new ability. Wilhelm nodded. There is no intention of hiding it. After all, it is impossible for Katakuri not to use the ability of Logia air fruit in front of others. Sooner or later Charlotte Linlin was going to make them suspicious. Simply and generously made it public. Anyway, as his strength gradually improved. And these days he has undergone continuous training and attempts. Not only mastered the ability to transfer fruit more proficiently, but also developed a new bug skill, transfer attack. In the past, he could only be limited to transferring physical attacks such as bullets, arrows, artillery shells, and magma bombs. But now it's slashing, lightning, laser, shockwave and other energy-type attacks, he can directly and forcibly transfer them. Whether it is the slash that is released, or the slash that is swung by the enemy. They can use the unstoppable bug ability of transferring fruits to transfer them to the enemy in an instant, making them inescapable and inescapable. That's why Wilhelm dared to say that he wanted to hunt those monsters in the Marine who had overwhelming power and represented the highest combat power of the Marine. Even if the world government, naval headquarters, and other large and small forces know the secret of his Paramecia transfer fruit. On this sea. Maybe now he is far from invincible. But if he wants to leave, who can do anything to get him? Of course, Wilhelm didn't mention the true origins of Feathered Serpent Kerr and Miyamoto Musashi at all. This is one of his trump cards, and it is impossible to show it in front of Charlotte Linlin without reservation. Controlling the Big Mom pirates is just the first step. His Charlotte Wilhelm's ambition is more than that. My ability can not only transfer the demon in the body after killing the capable person, so as to plunder the opponent's devil fruit ability. Wilhelm said directly to Charlotte Linlin. it can also directly transfer you the soul above the created homies. Strictly speaking, the ability of the soul fruit. It's not just the target's soul that's taken away, but also the lifespan. These are two different concepts, but the two are merged together by the ability of the soul fruit. Oh? Katakuri was a little surprised. Can even homies' soul power be transferred? He didn't expect that Wilhelm's ability to transfer fruit, paramecia, could do such a thing. Brush. Wilhelm directly probed with his right hand. The laser cannon in Charlotte Linlin's hand suddenly disappeared. It appeared in his hands out of thin air, and the anthropomorphic face on it screamed in horror. A group of strange substances floated up. Then, he stuffed the transferred soul back. Recreated a new homies. Canon, although they have the same soul power successively. But the two were completely different homies' lives. Anthropomorphic facial makeup is different. Thundercloud, Zeus, Sun, Prometheus, and the pirate hat Napoleon on Charlotte Linlin's head, the three most senior homies could only feel the chills. This means that Wilhelm may have the ability to directly harm or even kill them. This is. Katakuri's pupils narrowed sharply. He stared deeply at Wilhelm, his eyes flickering, and he couldn't calm down. This kind of ability can perfectly restrain the ability of soul fruit? It's unbelievable. Normally, creating homies is a unique power of Mother's soul fruit ability. Perispero was even more dumbfounded. Mama, your ability is really amazing. Can you even transfer homies' soul power? Witness Wilhelm transfer the soul out of the laser cannon. Charlotte Linlin felt a little unbelievable, but she didn't doubt him, and laughed indifferently. It's a pity that I can't directly pull out a person's soul like you, Mom. This ability is only effective for homies. Wilhelm shrugged. Say so. But he didn't envy Charlotte Linlin's soul fruit ability at all. Wilhelm always thinks. If the world government intentionally misled the world, and renamed it from the Devil Fruit illustrated book as Paramecia Rubber Fruit, the Zone Human Fruit Phantom Beast Nika form Devil Fruit is the most nonsense ability in the world. Then, his Paramecia transfer fruit ability that has never appeared in history so far. It must be the most unsolvable ability in the world. And Wilhelm believes in the potential to transfer fruit, and much more than that. If it is developed in depth, it may be possible to transfer a series of conceptual things such as the soul, lifespan, injury, aging, emotion, heart, thought, and personality of the living body. After all, he has been able to transfer the demon. It can also easily transfer harmful toxins that have invaded the body. As long as he makes unremitting efforts to exercise, research, try, and constantly dig deep, he will further develop the ability to transfer fruits. After the ability to transfer fruits is really awakened, even if all the above conjectures cannot be realized, it is always possible that a considerable part of them will become reality one day. Mama, it is indeed my most perfect masterpiece, Wilhelm. In this laser cannon, I stuffed a lot of souls. You can take them all. If there is not enough, come and take it again. I can wait for your good news. Charlotte Linlin was generous. Directly injected a large amount of soul power into the laser cannon. Throw it to Wilhelm. Then thank you, Mom. Taking over the homie's laser cannon, Wilhelm showed a satisfied smile. Say goodbye to Charlotte Linlin directly. Mom, if there's nothing else, I'll take my leave first. Mama, let's go. Charlotte Linlin, who was in a good mood, did not retain her. Wilhelm, Katakuri, Perispero and the others left the cake hall on the top floor. As a member of the Charlotte family, it is equivalent to the royal family of the Toto Land Kingdom. He naturally has his own room in Cake Castle. But as a cultivator, generally speaking, he doesn't live in Cake Castle. Lives next to the Temptation Forest on Cake Island, where he has his own villa. When Wilhelm was away, the maid he accepted 3 years ago, the female pirate Mise Olive with a bounty of 50 million Baileys, was in charge of management. Brother Wilhelm, if you have any good abilities, remember to take care of me, big brother. The three of them just walked out of the cake hall. Perispero couldn't wait to say to Wilhelm, we are a family. Finally, he added, of course, it's better to be Logia's. The ability of Katakuri's Logia air fruit undoubtedly made him envious. Brother Peros, Logia's ability is so rare, it's hard to come by, even if Wilhelm copied the treasure house of the world government. Katakuri raised his eyebrows and said helplessly. Logia's words. I really have it. Wilhelm looked at Perispero with hot eyes and said with a smile, Paramecia, I also have a few good abilities, it depends on your own choice, brother Perispero. Although the eldest son of the Charlotte family is talkative, and acts too rashly, it is easy to cause the failure of the operation. and I have my own little thoughts. But in general, whether it is strength or ability, he is indeed a good talent. The important thing is that Wilhelm is confident that he can suppress the other party. If he beats him, he can completely make Pacifist realize the reality, put away his unrealistic thoughts, and listen to him obediently. But don't worry. Currently, he still has 2 Logia abilities in his hand. They are Logia Cloud Fruit and Logia Smoke Fruit respectively. If Pacifist wanted it, he would not refuse it. Relatively speaking, the fruit quality of Logia Union is the highest. Not only can it have the ability to fly, but it can also create various clouds. The dazzling variety of clouds seen by Sky Island alone is enough to prove that the potential of Union fruit itself is not weak. Maybe it can't compare to the top Logia abilities such as Logia Air Fruit and Logia Thunder Fruit, but I believe it won't be much worse. Its value is definitely higher than that of Logia Smoke Mold Fruit and Logia Heavy Fruit. 2. After all, no matter how bad Logia Devil Fruit is, it is also Logia. If it is well developed, it cannot be compared with the ability of ordinary Paramecia. In particular, strictly speaking, the ability of Logia Smoke Fruit is not bad, it just depends on how the ability person develops and uses it. Among other things, even if you really can't extract oxygen from the air or something, letting off poisonous smoke can kill the enemy. Of course, for Pacifist who is already capable and has developed his abilities to perfection. The appeal of Logia Smoke Fruit is probably not that great. And the other Paramecia Devil Fruit also has some pretty good abilities. Such as Paramecia Boiling Fruit, Paramecia Vortex Fruit, Paramecia Steel Fruit, Paramecia Heatwave Fruit, Paramecia Fluctuating Fruit, etc. Among them, in Wilhelm's opinion, the most suitable ability for Pacifist is Paramecia Vortex Fruit. Paramecia, the ability user of the Uzumaki fruit, can make the target it touches form a Uzumaki. For example, touching the sea can turn the sea into a vortex current, touching the ground can also cause the ground to become Uzumaki to devour the target, and touching the air can make the air generate strong Uzumaki, produce amazing suction, or directly make the air rotate at a high level, firing air cannons. If it can be developed to the level of awakening, it will be absolutely amazing. In terms of Pacifist's talent, it is still possible to develop it to awakening. Of course, even without awakening, its performance is also strong enough. For the Charlotte family members, Wilhelm is still very generous. Both Pacifist and Katakuri couldn't help but widen their eyes, staring blankly at Wilhelm. How many devil fruits does this kid hide? It's really daring. No one has ever dared to do such a thing without telling the mother. However, Charlotte Linlin was extremely lenient to Wilhelm. Pacifist was almost sure that even if he went to sue in private, Charlotte Linlin would not necessarily get angry. It's not a big deal to leave a few devil fruits. Really? Tell me, what abilities are they? Pacifist bit his tongue, a little excited. Full of eagerness and anticipation, his eyes longed for Wilhelm. Logia Smoke Fruit and Logia Union Fruit. Wilhelm looked at the envious Pacifist and said directly, as for Paramecia, I think Paramecia Vortex Fruit is quite suitable for you, Brother Paros, but it is of superpower type, and it is not the same as your creation like licking fruit. Different. The Vortex Fruit can turn the target it touches into Uzumaki. It doesn't matter if it's sea, land, or even air. Not to mention just how terrifying the vortex current is, you should have seen it, Brother Paros. If one day, you can develop it to the level of awakening, I will definitely be stronger than you in terms of speed and fruit. Pacifist's Paramecia Licking Fruit, in Wilhelm's opinion, it is more appropriate to call Candy Fruit. Ability belongs to the creation category in Paramecia. It can make a large amount of candy or syrup arbitrarily. Its hardness can even be comparable to steel. It can even turn objects or creatures it touches into candy. It can only be achieved by knocking down the ability person or by the ability person voluntarily lifted. But the weakness is also obvious, fear of high temperature. Of course, strictly speaking, it is not a big weakness. Countless substances in this world will inevitably be melted by high temperature, not just candies. Logia Union Fruit and Paramecia Uzumaki Fruit? Pacifist hesitated. With Katakuri and Smoothie, top-level Logia abilities such as Logia Air Fruit and Logia Thunder Fruit are ahead. His vision has undoubtedly become higher, and he naturally looks down on the mere Logia Smoke Fruit. And Logia Cloud Fruit and Paramecia Vortex Fruit. These two abilities sounded really good, which made him inevitably a little tangled. As a born optimist, Pacifist didn't hesitate for too long, and quickly made a decision, licking his tongue, and said with a strange smile, "Hehehehe, let's go to Paramecia Vortex Fruit." Okay, but we still have to talk about it after the war. Wilhelm looked at him and shrugged. After all, Big Brother Peros, your situation is different from that of Katakuri Big Brother. The big battle is coming and you still need to retain your combat power. Although with Perospero's talent, it is impossible to expect him to be comparable to Keita Kuchin. But after all, the generals who can rely on themselves and have a bounty of more than 500 million Baileys, whether it is observation hockey or armament hockey, are still passable. Cultivate it well, and it will become a good combat force in the future. Cake Castle Top. After exchanging pleasantries with Perospero and Katakuri, Wilhelm left. In the gaze of the two, the snow-white vulture Fingley directly fluttered its wings, carrying Wilhelm's handsome silver-white figure on his back, and flew towards the direction of the Forest of Temptation. As the wind blew, Wilhelm's long silver hair fluttered and his robe fluttered. In a blink of an eye, Fingley has arrived at the Forest of Temptation on Cake Island. It comes from a luxurious, 3-story single-family villa. A spacious and large garden is presented there, with the singing of birds and the fragrance of flowers. It is magnificent. Circling and landing. Wow. Wait for Wilhelm to jump off his back. Fingley changed back into the snowmastiff form and barked towards the villa. Master Wilhelm. Soon a beautiful figure trotted out of the villa, a little overjoyed. Welcome back, thank you for your hard work. Wearing a black and white maid dress, can't hide that curve at all. A head of long green hair was extremely soft and fell down to the brim. As she trotted there were ups and downs. There was a gust of fragrant wind, and the maid was about to rush towards Wilhelm. But Wilhelm, who was already familiar with it, reached out and held her down lightly. Mise Olive. The bounty is 50 million Baileys. A female pirate who was rescued by Wilhelm 3 years ago and volunteered to follow him. Ah, Master Wilhelm is really getting more and more handsome. A pair of peach blossom eyes looked at Wilhelm affectionately. Some seductive faces, full of indescribable charm, sultry. Mise Olive's eyes were bold and fiery, as if he wished to swallow this ridiculously handsome nobleman in front of him. This female pirate, who was once in the first half of the Grand Line and was considered a little famous, made no secret that she not only has great strength, but also has a handsome face that even women would envy. She can be called the most beautiful in the world, the coveted heart of Lord Wilhelm of the Man. I heard that you made a lot of trouble outside this time. You even gave away the treasure house of the Celestial Dragons on Marie Joyce, the top of the Red Line. It's unbelievable. Although the previous swoop failed, Mise Olive was not discouraged at all. Taking advantage of the situation, he hugged the right arm of Master Wilhelm on her head, and his beautiful face was filled with a joyful smile. Tisk tisk, it's really amazing to be offered a reward of 1 billion Baileys at the age of 15. Olive. Wilhelm smiled slightly and walked into the villa. Casually asked Mise Olive, who was following him, "Did you not slack off in your cultivation during my time?" Since keeping the female pirate by her side as a maid, he strictly required the other party to practice according to the training plan he made. Even if it's a beautiful vase, as her own maid, she can't really be useless anyway. How can it be? He gave Master Wilhelm a dissatisfied look. Mise Olive immediately retorted. Although it is far inferior to a natural monster like you, Mr. Wilhelm, don't underestimate people. After continuous efforts, not only Tempest Kick, but also armament hockey, I have been able to use it proficiently. Mise Olive had no intention of confessing to Lord Wilhelm. Facing this unbelievably young, thrilling noble son, she always felt a sense of crisis in her heart. In order to be able to reflect your own value, continue to follow this Master Wilhelm and not be abandoned by him. In the past 3 years, she has practiced desperately and never slack off. Even if Wilhelm is not there, he is not lazy. Oh? You already mastered armament hockey? Wilhelm looked at Mise Olive in surprise. For 3 years, under his strict requirements. Mise Olive, who often practiced with him, has already mastered the 2 physical skills of shaved and moonwalk, and has successfully mastered hockey under his constant, sadistic training. But until he went to de Ries Rosa to search for Paramecia healing fruit, compared to observation hockey, which he was already proficient in, Olive hadn't mastered armament hockey, but he could barely use it, and that bit of strength was dispensable. It seems that during the few months he left, the other party really did not slack off in his cultivation. Of course. Olibu raised his head proudly, a little proudly. She said happily, "Speaking of which, it's thanks to Master Karstad for helping." Sister Castard? Wilhelm raised an eyebrow. Castard, the 6th daughter of the Charlotte family, will be the twin sister of Senju Cracker. Although I can't understand Cracker's cowardly look of hiding in the biscuit armor every day because he is afraid of pain. But he doesn't dislike Karstad as his sibling. Especially, this elder sister with a baby face. He is a rare, normal person in the Charlotte family. Good performance. Wilhelm nodded in satisfaction. After pondering for a moment, he directly threw a blue-white, pineapple-shaped devil fruit with cloud-like patterns to Miss Olive. This is for you. Originally, he wanted to give the paramecia disguise fruit to Miss Olive, and let her quietly be a beautiful vase. But seeing that the maid's performance was not bad, and she was not a pure vase, she couldn't help but change her mind. Anyway, he lacks everything now, except devil fruit. If you don't train your own people, it's a waste to just leave them there. Oh? He caught the devil fruit sent by Wilhelm. Miss Olive was both surprised and delighted, and looked eagerly at Wilhelm. What kind of ability is this? Logia cloud fruit. Logia. Miss Olive was overjoyed. She is about 1.7 meters tall, and she jumped up high. Excitedly, he kissed Wilhelm, who was much taller than himself. Great. Thank you, Mr. Wilhelm. Olive, I'm here. Are you going to practice today? At this time, outside the villa, a tall figure walked over. It was a young woman in a pink jumpsuit, short violet hair, full of capability, and looked heroic. Looking at Wilhelm and Miss Olive in the yard, a beautiful doll's face was full of surprise. Eh? Wilhelm, you're back. My name is Karstad. She is the 6th daughter of the Charlotte family. I have a bunch of half-siblings, but only 3 siblings from one mother. They are brother Charlotte Cracker and sister Charlotte Angelo. I also have a half-brother named Wilhelm, the 22nd son of the Charlotte family, who is said to be an out-and-out natural monster. In this regard, I have always been proud and arrogant, thinking that I am not much worse than others, and I have always been skeptical. Until I saw with my own eyes that he just came back from training in a certain beast island, but at the age of 9, he directly beat my brother Cracker, who had a bounty of more than 200 million berries at that time, and was also a paramecia biscuit fruit ability. A meal. That unbelievably handsome face, noble and ruthless demeanor, inborn powerful talent. Totally stunned me. There are such perfect people in this world. In that instant, I completely fell in love with this handsome and cold brother. Don't get me wrong, it's purely a love between siblings, nothing else. All in all, I couldn't help but want to get close to the 22nd son of the Charlotte family, but my brother Cracker offended the younger brother Wilhelm. This younger brother is a cultivator. The time to stay in Cake Island all year round will not be very long. Even if you stay in Cake Island, you will be alone in the tempting forest Lin Sholian outside the town. When I met each other several times, I was so happy that I just wanted to take the initiative to say hello, but every time I faced that sharp gaze that seemed to look straight into the soul, making people trembling, my mind was inexplicably empty, and I couldn't get close. Every time the other party just nodded towards him indifferently, and then left without stopping. As if a stranger. This makes me very lost. But I don't know how to reverse the relationship between the two. Until about 3.5 years ago, he went out to practice alone, and suddenly came back with a young and beautiful woman, saying that he would stay by his side as a maid. Her name is Miss Olive, and it is said that she is a well-known female pirate with a bounty of 50 million Bailey. I found that he seems to like that beautiful maid who is very beautiful and has a very good figure, who is probably only a little worse than me, and often teaches her how to practice. I really envy her living with brother Wilhelm. Almost 3 years ago, when Wilhelm followed Katakori's big brother and ran out to fight those pirates who tried to challenge the Big Mom pirates. Once, there was a guy who didn't have long eyes coveting the beauty of Miss Olive, and wanted to do something wrong with him, but I directly warned and punished him, and the two of them had a lot of friendship. They often practiced together, and by the way, they inquired about sending off Wilhelm's brother. I think Miss Olive is a bit stupid, those moonwalk, tempest kick, shaving and so on. I watched her practice there for 3 years. After many attempts, I have already learned these skills. She still did not learn. Not even armament hockey has mastered it. I don't understand what this Wilhelm brother likes about him at all. However, after getting to know Miss Olive, I inquired about Wilhelm's usual preferences, as well as his favorite dessert, lily cake. In private, I began to try stupidly. After a week of scrambling, in the end, I could only obediently ask the head chef, Longbread, for advice. After a month of hard work, from being scolded by the old bastard of Longbread, to getting the approval of the head chef of the Big Mom Pirates, I can finally make a decent lily cake. Full of expectations, the soldiers of Homies delivered it to Miss Olive, and asked it to be handed over to Wilhelm's brother. And directly threatened it, to keep it absolutely confidential, and not to tell anyone that it was sent over by myself. Then, the dim sum that had been carefully prepared was sent back intact by homies. The reason is that this younger brother of Wilhelm is so popular. There are countless women in the whole town and even in the waters of Toto land who are obsessed with him, and they are even willing not to marry, just to guard their lives for him. Every day, a large number of girls send love letters to them, or directly send flowers, fruits, gourmet pastries, etc. Gifts are piled up at the door of the villa every day. Under Wilhelm's order, Mies Olib returned all those love letter gifts. If you can't return it, just throw it away. This undoubtedly made me, who was full of expectations, only feel half-hearted. A few months ago, the younger brother of Wilhelm went out to practice alone again. Then, the cracker big brother married a princess of a certain kingdom, and his brother Wilhelm, who had a bad relationship with him, did not come back. It is said to go directly to the first half of the Grand Line. Moreover, the three Smoothie sisters who had a very good relationship with him on weekdays, who were enviable, actually secretly ran out from Juice Island to find him. Staying on Cake Island, I was bored, and when I had nothing to do, I practiced with his maid, and guided her by the way. He often took her out to fight with those pirates who were arrogant, who tried to challenge the Big Mom pirate group and came to make trouble in the waters of Toto land. Let her get a breakthrough in actual combat. Today, as usual, I came to look for that maid Olive. As a result, I unexpectedly met a person, Brother Wilhelm. The current him is more perfect than the reward list pasted on the bedside of my bedroom, cool and handsome. But seeing him so close to Olive made my heart feel sour for no reason. I really want to be so close to Brother Wilhelm. Brother Wilhelm, you're back, close. Before Wilhelm's villa compound, Karstad took a deep breath. Suppressing the joy and the trace of sourness in his heart, he put away those messy thoughts in his mind, kept himself as calm as possible, and greeted Wilhelm. Sister Castard, you came just in time. Wilhelm smiled and nodded, come in. The other party often pays attention to him in private. In fact, he has always known it, but he didn't say anything about it. For more than 3 years, when teaching Mies Olib, more than once, he found Castard hiding behind a tree and peeping from a distance. Even Mies Olib mentioned to him that Castard, the sixth daughter of the Charlotte family, often asks her about her preferences intentionally or unintentionally. This girl foolishly went to learn how to make lily cakes from that old guy named Long Bread. Unconsciously, the entire Charlotte family, except for Charlotte Linlin, who is a vegetarian and has a wide range of interests in desserts. He likes desserts like lily cake the most. Long Bread, who has long been a mature person, has guessed his mind. And told him privately. Huh? Castard was taken aback, his eyes widened involuntarily. He stared blankly at this younger brother Wilhelm, whose attitude was not so indifferent at all, but full of warmth, which made people feel like a spring breeze. Master Karstad, what are you still doing standing there? Mies Olib's eyes were full of smiles, and he stepped forward to pull this Lord Karstad, come in quickly. This Lord Castard always asks her about Lord Wilhelm's affairs. At first, she thought that the other party wanted to find out the weakness of Master Wilhelm for her brother Cracker, and wanted to get back the spot. But then gradually found that it is not the case at all. Not only did Lord Castard not have any negative emotions such as rejection and disgust towards Lord Wilhelm. On the contrary, she cares about this younger brother very much in private, she is an out-and-out brocon. But dare not show it. It's true, she loves Master Wilhelm to the bone. But too shy to get close. This is the outskirts of the Temptation Forest. Inside Wilhelm's villa, in the spacious hall, Castard, who was a little dizzy, was enthusiastically pulled in by Mies Olib. Only then did he notice that Mies Olib had a strange devil fruit in his hand. Looking at this blue-white pineapple-shaped fruit with a cloud-like spiral pattern, Instead was a little surprised. This is the devil fruit that Master Wilhelm gave me, Mies Olib said happily while holding this Logia Yunion fruit, full of joy. No wonder. Castard suddenly realized. She looked at Wilhelm, and exclaimed in disbelief. This time, the devil fruit you brought back with Smoothie really opened my eyes. Mom also asked me to choose one in it, but I haven't decided what ability to choose yet. As she spoke, she spread her hands helplessly. Although there are many devil fruits brought back by Wilhelm. But Zone's ability directly accounts for half of it. She naturally doesn't like those Zone abilities that are so ugly after transformation. There were a few good Parameshas, but when she came back, she was a step too late, and the better Parameshas had been picked away by other members of the Jonglot family. Oh? Wilhelm raised an eyebrow. Looking at Castard's delicate baby face, he couldn't help but ask with a smile. Is there no ability to satisfy you, Sister Custard? Among those devil fruit, including the Logia air fruit given to Katakuri, there are only 3 Logia abilities. There are also a few zone ancient species abilities, and even a few good zone ordinary ones including the bird fruit black eagle form. This ability was also taken away by him. Among the remaining Paramecia abilities, abilities such as Paramecia steel fruit and Paramecia boiling fruit were all taken away by him. The rest are abilities such as Paramecia bamboo fruit, Paramecia sickle fruit, Paramecia thorn fruit, Paramecia needle fruit. Can't say it's bad, but it's certainly not amazing. How come? Custard's pretty face flushed. She was busy shaking her head, repeatedly waving her hands in denial. Afraid of causing this brother Wilhelm's displeasure, he said very seriously. After all, these brothers Wilhelm, you worked so hard and took such a big risk to invade the center of the world government, and finally got it. We people just sit back and enjoy their achievements. I'm sorry. The rest of the Paramecia abilities can't be said to be bad, but were all about the same. But she was a little hesitant, and really didn't know which one to choose. Is it really? Wilhelm smiled, and said unhurriedly, you must know those good abilities, but I have already picked them up in advance. Huh. Custard stared wide-eyed, staring blankly at Wilhelm, a little in disbelief. They are all powerful and extremely domineering. Mother, will you allow such a thing? Don't be so surprised. For mothers, any family affection is fake. The important thing is the value, and everything else is just a side effect, Wilhelm said with a light smile. What kind of person is Big Mom, Charlotte Linlin? All the members of the Charlotte family over the years have already known it. But photographed by Charlotte Linlin, who is growing day by day, they are so powerful that they dare not breathe a breath, unable to resist, and dare not resist. Most importantly, they don't necessarily want to resist. Members of the Charlotte family are like royal families in the Toto Land Kingdom, and they enjoy certain privileges and are vested interests. Without Charlotte Linlin, the Charlotte family is a mess, and sooner or later will be swallowed up by other ambitious forces, always coveting the Big Mom pirates. After all, although Charlotte Linlin is ruthless, if you obey her will, as long as you don't make any big mistakes, don't be stupid enough to try to stop her cravings when her cravings occur, and generally nothing will happen. Currently, only Charlotte Linlin can lead the Charlotte family to prosperity. Therefore, most members of the Charlotte family can only accept silently and dare not disobey Charlotte Linlin's arrangement of marrying them with other forces as a tool. In general, pain and happiness. Custard looked at Wilhelm in astonishment, but could not refute. Their mother really regarded her children as tools to realize her ambitions. All the signs have already been confirmed. Swipe, Wilhelm juggled. I have another devil fruit in my hand. Throwing it to Karstad. This is for you. Devil fruit? Catch the devil fruit flying over. Looking at this orange, grapefruit-shaped devil fruit with undulating patterns, Karstad was both surprised and delighted, and subconsciously looked at Wilhelm's handsome face, which made people reluctant to look away. Although I don't know the exact performance of the ability, but I guess the other party will never make such a joke with her, and give her a useless ability casually. This is Paramecia wave fruit. Looking at Custard's pretty face full of joy and a little unbelievable, Wilhelm smiled and said, this is a welcome gift for you, Sister Custard. Although Custard's talent is not as high as Cracker, who is a general. But as the younger sister of a compatriot of the same mother, naturally she will not be so bad. In particular, I don't know if it was because of him that the 6th daughter of the Charlotte family was driven in disguise. Although Custard, who is keen on practicing on weekdays, is still very young, his strength is among the best in the Charlotte family, and his swordsmanship is also extremely strong. It happens to be matched with this Paramecia fluctuating fruit, and I believe it will definitely exert a good power. Fruit of waves, Custard murmured. Hold this Paramecia wave fruit tightly in your hand. There was some indescribable surprise on the face of the heroic doll, and she couldn't help asking again, do you really want to give it to me? She never imagined that in the past, Wilhelm, who was always full of indifference, rejected people thousands of miles away, and was not easy to get along with, would actually give herself a devil fruit as a gift. Paramecia wave fruit, it doesn't sound like it's too weak. Bright and spacious living room with warm tones. Mise Olib, the maid, stands behind Wilhelm. Looking at Custard, who couldn't believe it, he said with a smile, congratulations, Lord Custard. This Lord Custard has taken good care of her. Although she could see that it was more because of Lord Wilhelm, but no matter what, she was very grateful. Now Mise Olib is naturally happy about it. Even a maid like her can be endowed with the ability of Logia cloud fruit. I believe that the gift from Lord Wilhelm will not be too bad. This is truly the most precious gift I have ever received. Holding the fluctuating fruit, Custard was surprised and delighted, nodded his head there, and said happily. As she spoke, she stood up and bowed to Wilhelm, who was sitting on the opposite sofa. Thank you, brother Wilhelm. Don't say that, we are all family. In an instant. Wilhelm's silver-white figure. It has already come in front of Custard. Pressing the shoulder of the sixth daughter of the Charlotte family, she gestured for her to sit down. Don't be so obtrusive, you are my family just like the Smoothies. Looking down on Custard's bright face and looking straight into those big brown eyes, he chuckled and said, there is a little trivial conflict between me and Cracker, but it is impossible to reject or reject it because of it. I hate you, Custard's sister. Brother Wilhelm. Custard, who was a little excited, obediently sat on the expensive sofa, looking up at Wilhelm's majestic figure. That handsome face so close at hand made her heart beat faster, and she couldn't help but feel a little absent-minded. If you have anything to do in the future or want to practice with me, just come to me directly. Gently pinching Custard's delicate baby face, Wilhelm bowed his head and whispered in his ear, don't be like before, just hiding in the corner of the forest of temptation and peeping from afar, no dare to come forward and say hello. Huh. Wilhelm, you know all about it? Custard's pretty face turned red all of a sudden. The secret hidden in the bottom of my heart was discovered, some incoherent, at a loss. The hot baby's face was as red as an apple, as if it was steaming. All of a sudden, like a child who has done something wrong, some dare not raise their heads, and they are about to be buried in the plumpness that is no less than Mies Olive, or even better. Don't say that I often let go. The observation hockey that insists on exercising is not a decoration. Looking at this silly and cute sister, Wilhelm chuckled and said directly, what's more, I also have the blood of the white Shiba fur family, and I am born with a dog that is far superior to other dogs. Incomparably keen sense of smell. Any slight change in smell cannot hide from my sensitive nose. You really don't hate me. Clenching his fists tightly, Karstad mustered up his courage. Suppressing the panic and bewilderment in his heart, he tried his best to raise his head and look at Wilhelm's impeccably handsome face. Of course not. Caressing Karstad's white and creamy baby face. Those golden eyes seemed to hit the soul directly, making Custard's heart tremble uncontrollably. In addition, the lily cake you made by yourself tastes really good. It would be a pity to throw it away like that. With a smile in his eyes, he bent his head and tapped lightly on the flawless white forehead. Wilhelm smiled, said, my lovely and gentle silly sister. Why would you, Wilhelm? You know this. Custard was completely dumbfounded. Some looked at Wilhelm's handsome face in disbelief. The other party shouldn't know about that lily cake. Gently brushing the chic lily pinned on the short violet hair, Wilhelm asked with a chuckle, Sister Karstad, do you think the fragrance of this lily can be hidden from me? Besides, Longbread is an old and sophisticated guy. He knows that lily cake is my favorite in the entire Charlotte family. He has already guessed what you are thinking, and he even mentioned it to me. Privately, he has already brought the finished product you made to me to taste. If he remembers correctly, it was almost from that time. The hair ornament on this silly sister's head was replaced by a lily without knowing it. That nasty old bastard of Longbread. Custard's eyelids twitched. Some became angry from embarrassment, gnashing their teeth. It never occurred to her that Longbread, that naughty old bastard, would have already guessed that her careful thinking was not going to be broken, and dared to tell Wilhelm about it. However, as long as Wilhelm you like it. Looking at Wilhelm's handsome face, the anger on Karstad's face disappeared. Her heart was filled with indescribable joy. She was a little shy after all, and said coyly, I will make it for you often from now on. No, I can do it for you every day. That's not necessary, just occasionally. Wilhelm chuckled lightly. In short, Sister Custard, you have to remember that we are a family, so you don't need to be so secretive. Seeing Wilhelm's expression without any hypocrisy, Custard was full of joy and nodded heavily. Speaking of which, Master Wilhelm. Mies Olive with a smile on his face stepped forward and skillfully poured tea for the two of them. Looking at the orange devil fruit in Custard's hand, he asked curiously, the wave fruit you gave to Lord Custard should be very powerful, right? I have to say that this maid is really good at life. Flutteringly changed the subject, perfectly avoiding Custard's embarrassment. Even Custard couldn't help looking at Wilhelm when he heard that. His eyes blinked, full of anticipation. The fruit of fluctuations can cause fluctuations in the targets it touches, including the land, the sea and even the air. It can also bless its abilities to attacks such as swords and guns. Wilhelm didn't hide anything, and directly introduced. For example, touching the sea can cause the sea to produce controllable fluctuations, setting off big waves to swallow the opponent. Touching the ground can also cause the ground to fluctuate, directly showing strong waves like waves crushing overwhelm the opponent. Attacking on the top can also cause the blade to generate strong fluctuations, so as to wield an astonishing slashing wave, or directly enhance the power of piercing and slashing, etc. Of course, it's different from Paramecia shock fruit's exaggerated ability to directly shatter the atmosphere and easily cause natural disasters such as tsunamis and earthquakes. It's equivalent to the lower fruit of shock fruit, but it's not exactly it. It uses itself as a medium to make the target fluctuate and radiate to the surrounding ability. It doesn't mean that it is impossible to develop seismic waves, light waves, etc., but to what extent it can be achieved depends on yourself, Sister Castard. No matter what kind of ability. What kind of effects they can exert depends on the abilities of the ability users themselves. If it is replaced by Wilhelm himself, or again, replaced by talented people like Katakuri and Smoothie. Whether it is the Paramecia vortex fruit that Perispero promised to give to Perispero earlier, the Logia Yunyan fruit that was given to Mise Olive, or the Paramecia wave fruit that was given to Casta, there is a great chance to develop them to the level of awakening, thus showing the power like a natural disaster. It's hard to say if it's someone else, but anyway, even if you can't awaken, the performance of these abilities themselves will not be so weak. Juice Island. On the vast sea. I don't know when, it has already condensed into ice. Clang. Clang. Boom. Clatter. Woohoo. The two figures kept interlacing, and the cold light shone. The dazzling and sharp sword energy continuously poured out in all directions. The extremely thick ice layer trembled violently, leaving behind shocking, crisscrossing cut marks. The fierce gust of wind could not stop sweeping and raging. People can't open their eyes, some can't look straight. Unspeakable shock. Yahahaha, that guy Shiryu is amazing. Is that the famous sword skill of dragon-slaying warrior? It completely makes people's blood boil. Momo Fruit's ability is too strong, which increased Shiryu's combat power to an astonishing level. Even if it's just a duel, the new swordsman Ryoma is no match for Shiryu at all, and he is at a disadvantage. After all, he is not the real Shimotsuki Ryoma. He has just been resurrected with the ability of a phantom beast. He has not yet fully digested the inheritance of the dragon-slaying warrior hundreds of years ago, and he is still far away. Didn't get used to that new body. Feathered Snake Kerr, Miyamoto Musashi, the three Smoothie sisters, Dr. Hawkins and others. They were all watching the battle between Shiryu of the Rain and Ryoma the swordsman. His eyes were burning, his fighting spirit was high, and he was eager to try. Not long after Wilhelm left, they couldn't wait to come to the coast. Ryoma, the swordsman, used the abilities of the fruit of the dog, the phantom beast, and the form of the god Oguchi to freeze the sea and create a battlefield. It directly froze the turbulent and undulating sea surface into a thick layer of ice. Three swordsmen, Shiryu of the Rain, Miyamoto Musashi, and Smoothie, will directly draw lots to decide who will fight the swordsman Ryoma first, and experience the Shimotsuki style of swordsmanship completely inherited from the dragon-slaying warrior, Shimotsuki Ryoma hundreds of years ago. It turned out that Shiryu of the Rain won. Bolu, Bolu. At this time, the phone bug in Smoothie's pocket suddenly rang. I'm Smoothie. What's the matter? Smoothie was taken aback, then took out the phone bug and pressed the connect button. Sister Smoothie, I'm Wilhelm. Okay, Master Wilhelm? Feathered Snake Kerr, Miyamoto Musashi, Snaeman and the others at the side couldn't help looking over. Some were surprised. I have been appointed by my mother as the 4th General Star. I am in charge of the Island of Love, which is rich in mineral resources and one of the sources of military raw materials in the Toto Land Sea area. You call Dr. Hawkins and Shiryu, and they all set off for the Island of Love. Island. The other end of the phone bug. Wilhelm sat casually on the sofa with his legs crossed. Let Mise Olive, the maid, hold the phone bug that was imitating the outline of Smoothie, and said directly, from now on, that is our headquarters, I will go there later. On the opposite side, Castard, the 6th daughter of the Charlotte family, sat there quietly with her pretty face in her hands, quietly looking at Wilhelm's handsome face, which she never tires of. Didn't bother. Island of Love? The other end of the phone bug. Smoothie, who was far away on Juice Island, was taken aback. But she didn't get to the bottom of it, and readily responded, okay, I'll arrange it right away. A lot of minerals. Dr. Hawkins on the side licked his lips, his eyes were shining. His eyes were hot, and he couldn't wait. As long as there are continuous resources, the ability of his munch fruit is equivalent to a large-scale munitions factory. Moreover, both the quality and quantity of the products are quite exaggerated. Most importantly, it serves as the headquarters for words. He can then build a large-scale research base with peace of mind, and devote himself to scientific research directly, conducting related research on projects such as Clone Soldier Project, Pacifist Project, and Morphological Memory Armor. Island of Love? I'm really looking forward to it. Watching Wilhelm hang up the phone, Ms. Olive said happily, "Then Master Wilhelm, I'll go clean it up first." She has been with Cake Island for over 3 years since following Wilhelm. During the period, I also saw that Big Mom, that is, Lord Wilhelm's mother, Charlotte Linlin, had a sudden attack of food eating disorder, which was terrifying like a monster, completely devoid of humanity, and directly lost her mind. The appearance of destruction frightened her. Still fresh in my memory. Once, if Master Wilhelm hadn't shot. Maybe her soul will be sucked out by an out-of-control Charlotte Linlin. It is different from the Cake Island where the Big Mom sits in charge, which makes people feel a little worried. The Island of Love is equivalent to Lord Wilhelm's fiefdom, but from now on, Lord Wilhelm has the final say, and it's not as depressing as here. Go. Wilhelm nodded. Brother Wilhelm, are you heading to the Island of Love so soon? Custard asked with some surprise. Looking at this younger brother, his eyes were full of reluctance. Finally, the relationship between their siblings became closer. Sister Custard, why don't you follow me to the Island of Love and join my fleet? Watching the powerful and heroic sixth daughter of the Charlotte family, Wilhelm smiled, said. Eh? Can I really? Custard was taken aback. Then asked with some surprise. Of course, Sister Custard, your strength is still clear. Wilhelm smiled lightly, and said directly, although I don't need to be so impatient to form my own General Star fleet, I plan to wait until the next war is over before formally summoning the troops, but it's okay to call a few brothers and sisters from the Charlotte family to go there first. It is also good for everyone to contact each other in advance. Besides you, I plan to call a few more people. Oh? Custard looked at him in surprise. Sister Armand, Sister Yasho, Sister Blowier. Wilhelm shrugged. The other ones are Garrett, Prim, and Snuggle. He was going to be taken from the Charlotte family. Pick a few more potential ones and cultivate them into confidants. Of course, except for the only male member selected by Wilhelm, the 25th son Snag, who was only 11 years old and had good potential, was selected above. Among the female members of the Charlotte family selected above, regardless of whether they are adults or minors, the most important thing is that their appearance is relatively decent. Except for a few who are still too young, all those over 10 years old were packed away by him. Although Wilhelm can accept members of the Charlotte family with all kinds of strange looks, he will not discriminate against or hate them. But it is pleasing to the eye to look a little normal. He had to admit that he had a bit of an appearance association. As for the other male members, their strength is not too weak outside, they are barely strong, but except for that kid Snug, the others are still out of Wilhelm's eyes. Except for the 3 generals Perispero, Katakuri, and Cracker. The eldest daughter Compote, the 3rd son Daifuku, and the 4th son Owen are all powerful ministers who have been appointed by Charlotte Linlin. Having their own territory needs to be garrisoned and governed. It is impossible for him to treat all these people take over. Normally, it would be nice if he could ask Charlotte Linlin for a few ministers. Moreover, as the minister of the Toto Land Kingdom and the cadre of the Charlotte family, he is equivalent to a vassal on the island under his jurisdiction. If he wants to win the wind, how good is his life to kill and seize those civilians? If he doesn't give enough chips, it is also impossible to expect those guys to be willing to run over and follow him. After all, other people are not as emotional as the few female members of the Charlotte family, such as Smoothie and Custard, who have a good relationship with him. Because of my own words, I ran over to support myself without hesitation. But it doesn't matter. Anyway, in the future, he will accumulate enough power to seize the power of the Big Mom pirates. These Charlotte family members are all working under his command. Not much difference. Brush without warning. The huge observation hockey covers the entire Cake Island in an instant. Wilhelm focused on the few people he had just mentioned. In an instant, activate the ability to transfer fruit. Swipe. In Custard's surprised eyes, several figures suddenly appeared in the living room. How did we end up here? Wilhelm. When did you get back? Wilhelm big brother, Custard's sister. The 3rd daughter of the Charlotte family, Armand, the 4th daughter Yasho, the 9th daughter Brovia, the 18th daughter Garrett, the 20th daughter Prim, and the 25th son Snug. 6 members of the Charlotte family, ranging in age, size, and race, were directly transferred to his villa by Wilhelm using the ability to transfer fruits. At first, they were still a little bit surprised, but after seeing Wilhelm and Karstad, they were all surprised. They all calmed down. Wilhelm, big brother. When did you come back? About 12 years old, the 18th daughter of the Charlotte family, Garrett, with unbelievably fair skin and good looks, looked at Wilhelm and Custard sitting on the sofa, with a smile of surprises on her pretty face. Color. Sister Castad, you are here. A little fat man who was about 11 years old, but with a ferocious face and a body that was not inferior to an adult at all, was at a loss. Why am I here? Idiot. Little Snug, it was brother Wilhelm who used his ability to transfer you here. A tall figure with blue hair in a bamboo hat and a long skirt looked at him. With Wilhelm. With a cigarette in his mouth, it's kind of cool. What is striking is that her neck is much longer than that of ordinary people, and she is clearly a snakehead. It is the 3rd daughter of the Charlotte family, Charlotte Armand, this year. Surprised on his slightly cold face, he smiled lightly at Wilhelm. I haven't had time to congratulate you yet. I heard from Katakori's big brother that my mother just appointed you as the 4th general. Brother Wilhelm, you called us here suddenly, what's the matter? Yasho, the 4th daughter of the Charlotte family, who is Armand's younger sister, asked curiously with a cigarette in her mouth. Compared with her tall but plump elder sister Armand, she is very tall and slender, but her appearance is even more delicate than Armand's, and she is delicate and has a unique skinny beauty. Wearing trousers and a shirt, wearing a hat obliquely covering the left eye, and a long sword on his waist, he looks very capable and heroic. She lightly puffed out the smoke, looked at Wilhelm sitting there, and said coolly, if you want, my sister will be happy to help. I, a freshly baked general, will definitely form my own fleet after the war, so I simply ask you to come over and help. Wilhelm said with a smile. No problem. Armand and Yasho, the 2 sisters of the snake-headed clan, agreed to agree readily. Brother Wilhelm, are you already a general? Congratulations. The tall and slender daughter of the Charlotte family, Bloyer, who wore a gorgeous long dress and a crown on her head, smiled and said, if it's you, I'm fine. Eh? Wilhelm, big brother, can we too? The 12-year-old beautiful girl Garrett, the 11-year-old fatty Snug, and the 10-year-old half-octopus mermaid Prim. All 3 were surprised and delighted, looking at Wilhelm above them, full of expectation. They sincerely admired this Wilhelm big brother whose life is full of legends. Naturally, they are extremely willing to follow each other. Of course can. Standing up and stroking Garrett's little head, Wilhelm smiled and said, if you are not strong enough, you can also develop it slowly. In the Charlotte family, apart from Katakori big brother and the others, I admire you the most. Up. Really? That's great, you are so handsome, Wilhelm big brother. Hearing that Wilhelm, the powerful and handsome elder brother of the Charlotte family, who was recognized as the most perfect masterpiece of the Charlotte family, praised and recognized him personally, the 3 little devils couldn't help but be overjoyed. Little lowly Garrett obviously enjoyed Wilhelm's affection, squinting her crescent eyes happily. There he nodded heavily, clenched his fists tightly, full of energy. I will work hard, Wilhelm big brother. You too. Snug, Prim. Wilhelm looked at the little fat man Snug and the beautiful girl Prim who was half an octopus and a mermaid, and patted their heads. I will work hard too. Little fatty Snug nodded foolishly, scratching his head and smiling from ear to ear. For them young members of the Charlotte family, there is nothing more gratifying than being recognized by this Wilhelm big brother. Yes, Wilhelm big brother, I won't let you down. As a half-octopus mermaid, compared to other brothers and sisters, Prim, who is only 10 years old, undoubtedly has low self-esteem and timidity. But he still clenched his fists and nodded excitedly and earnestly. Then, it settled like this. Sister Ashide, Sister Yasho, Sister Broyer. After encouraging a few underage little devils, Wilhelm smiled and looked at Armand, Yasho, and Bloyer. Sister Karstad, were you also called by Wilhelm to help? The 9th daughter Broyer looked at the 6th daughter Karstad who was sitting there, a little surprised. Well, Sister Castard has agreed. Worried that Castard would be too embarrassed, Wilhelm replied with a smile. As he spoke, he looked at Armand and the others and asked directly, Sister Armand, Sister Yasho, Sister Bloyer, aren't you demon fruit power? Well, we received the message from Smoothie in advance, and the 2 of us didn't choose it. Armand shrugged. Looking at this handsome and outrageous younger brother, Yasho smiled and said, "I'm looking forward to your gift, brother Wilhelm." They had already received the hint from Wilhelm in advance, and they didn't have the ability to pick those devil fruits brought back from Smoothie too early. Bloyer spread his hands, and said, "I just asked for a paramecia needle fruit from my mother, but I haven't had time to eat it yet. In that case, let's give everyone a meeting gift," he said, waving his hand, in everyone's surprised eyes. In front of Armand, Yasho, Bloyer, Garrett, Prim, and Snug, who were just transferred here from the Cake Castle by Wilhelm, a mysterious devil fruit appeared in front of each of them. And now, let them all catch it subconsciously. This is devil fruit? Wow, so many devil fruits. Hiss. It's different from those devil fruits on Bao Curry's face. Is this what you have retained in advance? Not only Armand, Yasho and the others shrank their pupils in surprise. Even Casted, who ate that paramecia wave fruit not long ago, couldn't help but stare wide. I was secretly startled, brother Wilhelm. How many devil fruits does he still have secretly? The 6 devil fruits in front of him, counting the 2 devil fruits given to her and Mai's Olive earlier, have already taken out 8 devil fruits directly. Looking at the fiery red devil fruit with strange flame-like lines in his hand, he glanced at the fruits of different shapes in the hands of Yasho, Broyer and others. Armand, the third daughter of the Charlotte family, looked at Wilhelm in front of her with a cigarette in her mouth, and said in amazement, "Brother Wilhelm, you are just like a devil fruit wholesaler." "That's amazing, brother Wilhelm." Broyer looked at Wilhelm in disbelief. All of a sudden, he took out 6 devil fruits, which is exaggerated enough. You know, Wilhelm had asked the girls Smoothie to hand in more than 20 devil fruits to Charlotte Linlin before, and kept them in the treasure house of the Charlotte family. "Wilhelm, big brother, is this really for me?" Holding the devil fruit in her hand that seems to be full of infinite magic power and tempting people to eat it, little Lori Garrett looked at Wilhelm in surprise and joy. "So, what kind of abilities are these?" After snuffing out the cigarette that was about to burn out, Armand lightly puffed out the smoke ring, looked at Wilhelm and asked, "I think since it's the ability you screened in advance, it shouldn't be too much bad?" Both Yasho and Broyer looked at Wilhelm curiously. And Snuggle, Garrett, and Prim, the 3 little ghost heads aged 10 to 12, were playing with the devil fruit in their hands, full of surprise, and at the same time they couldn't help pricking up their ears. Among the 6 devil fruits, Sister Armand, the one you hold is paramecia ignite fruit. Sister Yasho, yours is paramecia speedy fruit. Sister Broyer, yours is logia smoke fruit. Garrett, yours is paramecia heatwave fruit. Prim, yours is paramecia dumpling fruit. Snug, yours is paramecia boiling fruit. Wilhelm chuckled and said, "They're all quite good abilities." Karstad, needless to say, it is different from Armand, Yasho, and Bloyer, the 3 swordsmen who are already strong. The 2 little girls, Garrett and Prim, did not expect them to become such a strong fighting force. Originally, he was thinking of preparing paramecia explosive fruit or paramecia steel fruit for Snug, who had the greatest potential among them. But after thinking about it, I decided to directly assign paramecia to him. Paramecia steel fruit, on the other hand, is in harmony with the kid on Sky Island, who has a steel-like will at a young age, Vipa. Maybe if he eats this fruit, he may be able to bring surprises to himself in the future. And paramecia explosive fruit, he intends to keep it for the time being, maybe it will be useful. Anyway, paramecia boiling fruit is strong enough, more than enough for Snag. Next, he will personally train this kid, and try his best to unearth his potential perfectly. Paramecia ignition fruit, oh? Logia smoke fruit. Sounds good. Wow. Paramecia heatwave fruit. It's great. Armand, Bloyer, Garrett and other girls couldn't help but look bright. These abilities just don't sound like they are too bad. Among them, Sister Armand's ignition fruit is equivalent to the low-level ability of Logia Mera Mera fruit. As the name suggests, it is to ignite the target. It can even ignite passion, make one's blood boil, and thus increase combat effectiveness, etc. The most convenient thing is that from now on, Sister Armand, you don't need to use fire to smoke. But even if it is a women's cigarette with a lower nicotine content, it is better to smoke less, which is good for your physical and mental health. Looking at Armand with a smile, Wilhelm introduced directly. Of course, there are also some desperate abilities, which can ignite oneself and ignite vitality, so as to squeeze the potential in the body to the greatest extent and greatly increase one's own combat power, but I don't think so. I hope you can use it, Sister Armand. Armand mused. Ignite everything. Sister Yasho, let alone the ability of your speedy fruit. It is simple and clear. It is to increase your own speed, and it can also directly accelerate any non-living body that you touch. What exactly can it achieve? The degree depends on you. Very good. Thank you, Brother Wilhelm. Yasho laughed lightly. Sister Brauer, your Logia smoke fruit can elementalize itself, turn its body into smoke, and fly directly, and the smoke is composed of various mixtures, such as infiltrating toxic substances into the smoke to kill goals, etc. To what extent you can develop it depends on yourself. Garrett, yours is Paramecia heatwave fruit. Being able to directly create a heatwave with intense heat and crush the target in any situation is a bit like Brother Owen's ability, but it's different. Plim, your Paramecia Dwanzi fruit is a special Paramecia ability. It doesn't have any enhancements, but it can directly tame any wild beasts and even sea kings, making them extremely docile. Fate is yours. Even the ferocious beasts or sea kings with the lowest IQ can surprisingly understand your orders and execute them unswervingly. In particular, you have the mermaid bloodline. Even if you fall into the sea, you can still breathe in the sea, you won't drown directly, and you can directly summon the sea kings or other sea beasts that you have tamed in the past to rescue you, or just hide on them, and use the phone bug installed on them to control them remotely, and I can ask Dr. Hawkins to develop such a portable device for you later. Wilhelm has already verified the ability of this dumpling fruit, and it is indeed effective for sea kings. That's why they deliberately pulled Prim, a girl with half-octopus Murloc blood from the Charlotte family, into his Team C. What? Hearing this, Custard, Armand and other women couldn't help being a little surprised. Looking incredulously at the Paramecia dumpling fruit in Prim's hand. No one expected that this seemingly ordinary devil fruit's ability would have such an exaggerated effect. This piece of sea is the world of sea kings, and the mermaid lowly Prim couldn't help but widen her eyes, she didn't expect it. Wilhelm Big Brother actually gave him such a powerful ability, he was a little surprised. In the end it's you, Snug. Ah, devil fruit is so unpalatable, Wilhelm Big Brother. Looking at the drooling there, he couldn't wait for him to introduce, and swallowed the devil fruit in his hand in a hurry, making people speechless. Little fatty Snug. A little helpless, Wilhelm knocked on his head angrily. Listen carefully, your Paramecia boiling fruit can make all the objects it touches reach a boiling state in an instant. For example, turning rocks into hot magma can also make the sea boil directly. After touching the human body, it can even make the blood in the target's body boil instantly, thus directly severely injuring or even killing the target. All in all, Paramecia boiling fruit is undoubtedly a very powerful ability. Wilhelm hadn't finished speaking yet. Garrett and Prim, whose eyes were shining brightly, could no longer hold back. Immediately, he bit down on the devil fruit in his hand. Seeing Armand, Yasho, and Blowier shaking their heads helplessly. Immediately, also full of anticipation, each brought the devil fruit from his hand to his mouth, and took a light bite. Vomit won a split second. Armand, Yasho and the other women all turned blue and purple. The reservedness of the girls made them cover their mouths together, resisting the nausea that made people want to retch. Castard said with a smile, the taste of devil fruit is unforgettable for a lifetime. Everyone make arrangements, let the servants pack it up, we will set off for the Island of Love before dark. After clapping their hands, after Armand, Yasho, Custard, Breuer and others all looked over, Wilhelm suggested directly. However, you may still need to get used to the ability of the devil fruit you just ate. It's still early, you can go to the Forest of Temptation to practice first, at least you can control your abilities a little bit, so as not to accidentally hurt others or cause too much damage. Sister Smoothie and the others, I think they have already started to set off. After they arrive first, they will arrange the affairs over there in advance. We just go there and meet them directly at that time. That evening, Wilhelm mentioned to Charlotte Linlin about taking away Armand, Yasho, Castard, Brauier and others, and obtained the permission of the Queen. At Charlotte Linlin's request, after the family had a reunion dinner, they used the ability of 10 rings, to help the 8th daughter of the Charlotte family, who is also the elder sister of Bloyer, Paramecia Mirror Fruit ability Brui to heal the scars on her face. Finally, under the farewell of Katakori and others, Wilhelm led Armand, Castard, Mise Olive and others, and set off for the Island of Love on a ship that had already been prepared. Wow. Awesome. It's the first time I've left Cake Island. Me too. Garrett, Snug, and Prim are 3 little ghost heads. There, shouting excitedly, running around on the deck. Don't run around. Wilhelm smiled and patted Garrett's little head. Then he knocked on Snug, a chubby, fierce-faced little fat man who had nothing to do with cuteness, and warned there, Garrett, Snug, you two have special abilities. remember to wear gloves, otherwise, don't touch other people. Garrett is the user of Paramecia heatwave fruit, and Snag is the user of Paramecia boiling fruit. It is easy to hurt other people without the ability to perfectly control one's own fruit. Wilhelm directly asked the two to wear gloves. Among the three little ghosts, only Prim, a half-octopus mermaid, has no such worries because he is a person with the ability of Paramecia dango fruit. He quickly mastered his own devil fruit ability, which can directly pick out balls from the face, and after feeding them to wild animals, it can make them become extremely docile and obedient. The only pity is that it has no effect on Homie's creatures. Otherwise, Wilhelm will definitely consider letting Prim directly control the two guys, Sun, Prometheus and Thundercloud, Zeus, and plan to involve them. Got it. Wilhelm big brother. Lil Lori Garrett squinted her crescent eyes and answered happily. No. It hurts so much. Wilhelm big brother hurts the most. Snag covered his red forehead and nodded his head in a low voice. In fact, it's not just the two of them. Armand, the third daughter of the Charlotte family, is similar. As a freshly baked Paramecia Ignite fruit ability user, she even put on the gloves, and sometimes accidentally set the gloves on fire. What's the trouble? Seeing that the whole cigarette in his hand was lit, and only the butt was left in the blink of an eye, Armand, who just took off his gloves and wanted to light a cigarette for himself, threw the cigarette butt on the ground helplessly. Nautical mile. Even for a strong person like her, it is obviously difficult to finally manipulate the ability to ignite the fruit in less than half a day. But if you let go of your scruples, you don't need subtle manipulation, and you lift the restrictions. Paramecia, the ability to ignite the fruit, will not affect her strength. On the contrary, it can completely explode with astonishing lethality. After all, it takes time. The sixth daughter, Casted, was in a great mood. The big eyes glanced at Wilhelm's handsome figure from time to time. That beautiful baby face is filled with a happy smile. Although she hasn't mastered the ability of Paramecia wave fruit, but due to the characteristics of wave fruit, it will not be as difficult to control as Armand's ability to ignite fruit. Most importantly, he was finally recognized by Wilhelm's brother. Instead of hiding in a corner, just sneak a peek at this impeccably perfect Wilhelm brother. This undoubtedly made Custard very excited, and very happy. The stronger the ability, the harder it is to control. Miss Olive, the maid who was with Wilhelm, said with a smile. Although she has obtained the ability user of Logia Union fruit, she knows how to measure and doesn't mean to show off. The guys in Marine should be dispatched in the next 2 days, so don't worry about it. Yasho, the fourth daughter of the Charlotte family, was half leaning on the side of the ship. Coolly holding a cigarette in his mouth, he puffed out the smoke lightly. He casually handed a lit female cigarette to Armand, his sister, and chuckled lightly. But what is certain is that when we master our respective devil fruit abilities, our strengths will all take a huge leap forward. Her ability is Paramecia speed fruit. It can arbitrarily accelerate itself or even non-living objects it touches, which is equivalent to the lower ability of Paramecia Momo fruit. It doesn't take much effort to control it freely, and the rest is the process of mastering it, instead of being as careful as Armand and the others. Because her ability is a pure increase in speed, as long as she can adapt to the skyrocketing speed and her personal nerve response can keep up, she can directly combine it with her own swordsmanship, thus exerting an astonishing fighting power. In that short period of time, it has already been able to increase the speed by several times to 10 times. Combined with Yasho's light and fast swordsmanship, it is simply not too perfect. Like a ghost, it is too fast to be seen by the naked eye. Make people hard to guard against. Woohoo. Midair, Browire, the ninth daughter of the Charlotte family whose body was half turned into smoke, flew back and forth at an astonishing speed. Sometimes it will be directly divided into several strands of white smoke, rushing forward, and in a blink of an eye, it will be more than 10 meters away, and merged into one again, manifesting the real body. Strive to be able to perfectly control your own devil fruit ability as soon as possible. After all, the battle is imminent, and thinking of the menacing Marine, no matter how heartless they are, it is impossible to be completely free from pressure. Sister Blowier, I will ask Dr. Hawkins to get you some gas bombs that are easy to carry and similar to gas bombs. I think they should be of great use. Seeing Browire, who was half emptied into smoke, Wilhelm said with a smile. He has verified that the poisonous smoke will not cause any harm to Browire, who is a Logia smoke fruit ability user. In a short period of time, it is impossible to rely on oneself to directly develop the ability to extract oxygen from the air, but it is completely possible to rely on external forces. For example, Directly mix poisonous gas such as gas into the smoke and manipulate it, so as to directly and easily eliminate the opponent at the smallest cost. In particular, smoke is not afraid of high temperatures. Even if flammable and explosive gases such as gas explode directly, it will not hurt Brouwer, a smoke fruit capable user. Instead, it blows the enemy to pieces. It is good. As the center of Toto Land Sea area, Cake Island is not too far from Love Island. At about 12 o'clock in the middle of the night, Wilhelm and others have successfully arrived at this island of love. The three Smoothie sisters, Shiryu the Rain and the others have already been waiting there for a long time. Lord Wilhelm, Brother Wilhelm, you are finally here. The leader, Smoothie, smiled and said, Sister Armand, Sister Yasho, Sister Castard, Sister Blowier, welcome to come. Master Smoothie, Lord Strong, Lord Snayman, Mise Olive, the maid, stepped forward to salute the three Smoothie sisters with a smile. Sister Smoothie and us. Garrett was dancing and waving Xiaomin there. Snarman stepped forward, squeezed Garrett's cute face, and said with a smile, yes, and you three little devils. As he spoke, he hugged Garrett, the kawaii little loli, directly. Everyone exchanged a few pleasantries. Wilhelm led Armand, Castard and other members of the Charlotte family, and got to know Shiryu Amami, Musashi Miyamoto, and Ryoma the swordsman. Armand and the others have already heard about the existence of Shiryu of the Rain and Kuro the feathered serpent. Although they were a little surprised that Wilhelm could easily subdue such a strong man, they didn't have much to say. Hard to accept. It touches the existence of Shimotsuki Ryoma. It shocked Armand, Yasho, Castard and others. But Wilhelm has already determined the identity of the swordsman Ryoma. The descendants of the branch of the Wanokuni Shimotsuki family living overseas, because they showed amazing talent in swordsmanship at a young age, they were given high hopes by their parents, and they were named after their ancestor Shimotsuki Ryoma. I hope it can achieve the prestige of the ancestor dragon warrior in this sea. So it is. A descendant of the dragon warrior? It's amazing. Armand, Castard and others suddenly realized. But still can't help but be amazed that Wilhelm has some pretty amazing guys under his wing. By the way, where's Hawkins? Wilhelm had already noticed that among the people present, Hawkins was not there. After introducing the members of the Charlotte family he brought over to get acquainted with Shiryu the Rain, Cool the Feathered Serpent and others, he asked Smoothie and the others directly. In the mines on the west coast, relying on his own devil fruit ability, he ate there. Shiryu of the Rain, biting a cigar, shrugged, swallowed a lot of metal ore, and dug an exaggerated huge hole, saying that it will be used as an experimental base, and it is still busy there. Early morning. Wilhelm got up early and finished washing. As her maid, Mise Olive had already carefully prepared breakfast for her. Master Wilhelm, I have built the experimental base overnight, and I have listed some of the remaining precision instruments, and handed the list to Mr. Smoothie. Just after enjoying the delicious breakfast, Wilhelm Dr. Hawkins, with disheveled hair, red eyes and bloodshot eyes, hurriedly pulled him. The most important thing now is that a lot of hands are needed. You need to get me some good homies soldiers. Feeling helpless, Wilhelm could only force this crazy scientist who had been up all night and was extremely tired to finish his breakfast. Then bring Dr. Hawkins, Armand, Castard, Mise Olive, the three Smoothie sisters, Shiryu of the Rain, Kuro the Feathered Snake, Miyamoto Musashi, and the swordsman Ryoma, to directly came to Dr. Hawkins previously excavated for the construction of the experimental base, located 100 meters deep underground, extremely hidden underground mine. Hiss, this is. Tisk tisk, it's unbelievable. It took only one night to complete such a huge project alone. If I hadn't witnessed it with my own eyes, I would really couldn't believe it. Paramisha munch fruit, what an amazing ability. Everyone present was completely taken aback. I don't know when, the originally huge, dark and messy mine has completely changed. Under the illumination of giant electric lights, it is as bright as day. What is presented in front of you is a huge modern experimental base made of a large number of alloys, which is as tight as steel pouring, full of science fiction, and shining with a cool metallic luster. A huge alloy iron gate lay there, a full 10 meters high, and extremely thick. It is made of the strongest Hawkins alloy, and it is impossible for an ordinary strong person to force it open. Inside, it is exaggeratedly large, vast, and unreasonably spacious, and there are huge laboratories one after another in an orderly manner. This experimental base has a total of 3 floors. Dr. Hawkins introduced directly. This is only the top floor, and there are 2 more hidden spaces below, and if necessary, I can use Munch the ability of Munch Fruit, to expand and dig deep into the ground, Even if you can directly create a deep-sea prison like Impel Down, it will be no problem. Then, he leads the crowd. Came to the hall inside the first floor. I saw a 2-meter high, full of mechanical sense, like a sculpture-like motionless figure, appeared there. There are 200 of them. Here's a robot I built out of munch fruit. Dr. Hawkins said directly to Wilhelm. However, due to limited conditions, they cannot be given real intelligence, and it is more convenient and quick to make them into Homie's life, and they can be put into use directly. The one over there is the pacifist model that you requested to build, Mr. Wilhelm. It is already loaded with Hawkins-type laser weapons and Hawkins-type Gatling machine guns, but it is only a semi-finished product, and the time is too late, and since its combat capability has not yet been fully verified, I have only produced 5 tentatively at present. You need to inject your soul to activate. As he spoke, he pointed to another laboratory. Inside, there were 5 tall figures standing quietly, 5 or 6 meters high, shining with bursts of metallic luster, and full of a sense of science fiction. What's more, the huge arms reveal black gun barrels, superimposed on each other. The huge mouth and abdomen are equipped with 2 laser cannons. Inexplicable scalp tingling. Tisk tisk, this is simply a war machine. Shiryu of the Rain was amazed. It's unbelievable, these were made in just one night. Sneyman looked over there, touching those cold, lifeless metal figures. I just feel a little bit like a dream. Although she knows that Paramisha munch fruit's ability is amazing. But I didn't expect that Dr. Hawkins could do such an exaggeration after the restriction on resources was lifted and he had a huge amount of mineral resources to provide for devouring. The 2 sisters, Armand and Yasho, were smoking cigarettes and couldn't help but marvel. Devil fruit really surpasses human wisdom and imagination. I finally understand why, Wilhelm, you brought Dr. Hawkins out of Impel Down. Looking around, Smoothie, who was dazzled, couldn't help being shocked, and felt a little inexplicable. Is this the power produced by the combination of technology and munch fruit's ability? She can imagine. Once these war machines are injected with souls, they become the life of homies. What kind of power can be exerted? These 5 are just the initial test items. Next, there may be more, maybe even hundreds, thousands. Form a huge war legion. Thinking about it makes my scalp tingle. Perhaps their individual strengths, at best, rely on their bodies constructed of Hawkins alloys to have extremely high defensive power, but because their reaction ability can't keep up at all, their combat power may not be very strong. But if they act in groups, the dense interweaving of firepower, I believe that even those powerful experts with amazing strength will be terrified. She was suddenly glad that Wilhelm and Dr. Hawkins were not enemies. But their own people. Then let's get started. Wilhelm chuckled. There was a flash of brilliance in his hand. Shot directly from the room of the homie's laser cannon that Charlotte Linlin stuffed a lot of soul into. Don't try to struggle. I will transfer most of the soul stored in your body at most, to make you weaker, and will not directly erase your existence. Grabbing the frightened anthropomorphic homie's laser cannon, Wilhelm spoke lightly. Brush. In the expectant and shocking eyes of Dr. Hawkins, Shiryu Rain, the 3 Smoothie sisters, the 2 Armand sisters, Castard and others. A large amount of soul power was transferred directly by Wilhelm. They were injected into the 200 semi-finished robots respectively. Let them instantly become an anthropomorphic life and start to move. Ah, it's amazing, I am a robot. Shut up, idiots. Wilhelm's eyes were serious. Unceremoniously unleashing nothing but a wisp of Conqueror's hockey, deterring the homies' robots. Directly ordered homies who was trembling and kneeling there. Remember, from today onwards, Dr. Hawkins is your boss, and you must absolutely obey his orders. Yes. Dr. Hawkins ordered directly. Let these homies' robots act, or clean the laboratory, or move materials, or test instruments. After verifying the performance of these homies' robots one by one, he was quite satisfied with the results. Hey, the effect is surprisingly good. Nodded. Wilhelm also began to infuse souls directly into the 5 semi-finished pacifists. Brush with the injection of soul power. The 5 concrete figures are tall, without any life fluctuations, and the pacifist who looks like a sculpture directly turns into the life of homies. Caw, caw. The faces made of metal began to anthropomorphize one after another, and began to move. Brush. For a moment. Regardless of these 5 homies-type pacifists. Still Wilhelm, Smoothie, Dr. Hawkins and others. They all disappeared here, and came to a coastline that Smoothie had ordered as a restricted area, prohibiting ordinary people from intruding. Want to test their performance? It's really exciting. I saw the golden sand. The 5 concrete types are tall, shimmering with metallic luster, and the homies type pacifist that gives people a great sense of oppression stands there. But their anthropomorphic faces were full of astonishment. Some can't react. Sister Smoothie. Wilhelm motioned to Smoothie. To understanding. There was a flash of lightning. Smoothie skimmed straight to the surface. I order you to report all the attacks. Yes. As Wilhelm ordered. 5 homies type pacifists moved. Some directly opened their big black mouths, and some directly raised their Gatling machine guns, aiming at Smoothie on the sea. Ohm, da, accompanied by bursts of dazzling golden light. Bunches of astonishing laser cannons blasted out like lightning. Shish. The dense Gatling bullets pierced through the air and interweaved into an overwhelming barrage, which crazily poured towards the sea, and the constantly plundering Smoothie poured away. People can't help feeling a little numb in the scalp and breaking out in cold sweat. Boom. Crash. Crack. Clang. Chrome. On the golden sand. The cold light shone, and Breuer was emitting a lot of white smoke. At an astonishing speed, he kept flying and hovering in midair, and the sword edge in his hand kept waving, slashing hard. But without using hockey, it was impossible to hurt those homies type pacifists at all. Her figure is constantly being locked. Da. Shesh, there was a loud roar through the air. Bunches of dazzling laser cannons are incomparable. And the armor-piercing bullets fired by the Gatling machine guns were densely packed, overwhelming. It densely pierced through her body, leaving a large number of shocking holes, and blasted to the distant sea unabated. Boom. Clatter. Woohoo. Fierce laser beams sparked violent explosions. The airwaves visible to the naked eye are billowing, and the astonishing gust of wind can't stop raging and ripples. The heat on the sea was steaming, and the waves were violently turbulent and tumbling endlessly. The defense of these pacifists is surprisingly exaggerated. Taking a long breath, Breuer flew back. The large and small holes on the body that make the scalp tingle are like white smoke. It is recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. Compared to the relatively strong defense, the reaction ability can't match at all. Smoothie, who used to rely on Logia's ability to serve as a target to keep gliding across the sea to test the performance of these homies type pacifists, said confidently. And my Thunderfruit ability is inherently restraining them. It's too easy to destroy them. Only people with Logia abilities like Smoothie and Breuer dare to ignore their intensive and terrifying attacks. Armand was smoking a cigarette, shaking his head there. Strictly speaking, a single pacifist is not very powerful in combat. Even if these 5 homies type pacifists are added together, Armand, who is confident enough in his own strength, thinks that he can kill them easily. But if there are 10, dozens, hundreds, even more such pacifists stacked up. If you form a formation there and interweave a dense firepower net, it will be difficult for ordinary strong people to approach, and they will be directly shot into a sieve. Especially on a large battlefield, the role they play is unimaginable. Hey, this kind of combat power can be said to be not inferior to some ordinary naval headquarters rear admiral. Shiryu of the Rain puffed out the smoke lightly, and said to Wilhelm with a light smile. Even with the amazing defensive power of the Hawkins alloy, if hockey is not strong enough for ordinary powerhouses, or if they don't have the special ability of Devil Fruit, it may not matter can break through its defenses. The key is the quantity. The more the quantity, the more powerful they will be. Ho. Although it is still not in the ideal state, it is better than being able to mass produce directly, and save a lot of time and money investment. Dr. Hawkins, who has been paying attention to the performance of these homies type pacifists the whole time, grinned and said. Well, although this kind of degraded homies type pacifist produced in batches can continue to expand production, it still needs to continue to invest in research, so don't worry about funding. Wilhelm nodded and spoke directly. Such a homies type pacifist is better at saving costs and can be produced in large quantities. If a large-scale army is formed, it will play a great role on the battlefield. It can be considered to continue to build in large quantities. However, there is a big gap from their expected pacifist plan. Moreover, the cloning soldier has a sense of combat that homies cannot replace, and he is not afraid of death, and completely obeys orders. In particular, this kind of homie's life itself is not firm in will, it is only covered with an alloy shell, strong on the outside but strong on the inside, and is easily intimidated and restrained by Conqueror's hockey. The plan, obviously, must continue. Understood. Dr. Hawkins nodded. As long as Wilhelm spares no expense in investing money and resources, he is naturally willing to strive for excellence. This mass-produced homies pacifist is not very powerful due to the injected soul. Their combat awareness is not up to the ideal standard at all, and their individual reaction ability is too slow. For those hockey masters, they are easy to get close and even be destroyed before they can fire. Moreover, Homies' life has his own thoughts and is too emotional. He will also have fear and other psychology in the face of the strong, and he may be so frightened that he will become a deserter directly. If the soul of the strong is directly deprived and injected into the alloy titan made of shape memory alloy, it will have extremely high thinking and combat awareness, and the combat power it can display will be very impressive. Looking at the 5 low-profile pacifists, full of metallic luster that turned into Homies' life, Wilhelm couldn't help but meditate there. From here, it can also be explained how powerful the ability of Paramecia soul fruit is. In particular, there is no doubt that Zhonglote Linlin has already developed his soul fruit to the stage of awakening. Wind, lightning, fire, land, sea, / these tangible and intangible substances can be controlled by injecting soul power into them into the life of Homies. Whether in the process of fighting or in the daily use of power development, Charlotte Linlin never fully utilized the ability of Paramecia soul fruit. With such a powerful ability, as well as an inherently terrifying monster physique, completely overwhelming power and hockey's cultivation base. In the future trajectory, Charlotte Linlin, a woman whose mind is completely filled with snacks, is so easily defeated by 2 rookies who have only been in the sea for a few years, it is outrageous. The shame of the pirate emperors, especially, from the perspective of developing military power and so on. Combining the power of science and technology, the munch fruit with unlimited creativity, and the soul fruit that can inject souls into dead objects and turn them into Homies' life forms. These 2 abilities are a perfect match. I have received news that the large expedition fleet on the marine side has been organized, and it is estimated that it may officially depart from the G5 branch in the first half of New World to the waters of Todo Land at the latest tomorrow afternoon, preparing to attack the Big Mom pirate group. According to the speed of the marine warship, and the treacherous and unpredictable climate of New World, it is estimated that it will take 5 to 7 days for Marine's large fleet to arrive near the Todo landwaters in the middle half of New World. Wilhelm looked at Dr. Hawkins, and said in a deep voice, "How many degraded pacifists can you produce in 5 days? Considering the need to consume other resources besides the minerals of the Island of Love, as well as my own physical strength. Even if I don't do anything these days, I can produce up to 560 such pacifists." Rubbing his chin and estimating for a moment, Dr. Hawkins spread his hands. "After all, although my stomach is a bottomless pit, it is impossible to swallow the entire island's minerals in 1 day, and the steel, aluminum, copper extracted from it, tungsten and other metals, and even the output of shape memory alloys is not unlimited. After all, in addition to this, I also need to produce a large number of armor-piercing bullets, for their consumption on the battlefield. Although the Hawkins-type Gatling machine guns on them are amazingly powerful, their rate of fire is too fast. It's not that my munch fruit ability can use the Tuntun factory to synthesize a large amount of ammunition in the shortest time, that is simply a waste of money. And the laser cannons on them also need to consume a lot of energy. As a thunder fruit capable person, Mr. Smoothie also needs to recharge them. That is to say, by then, about 300 such Homies-type pacifists will be produced in total? Wilhelm nodded. Although it's a little small, it's barely enough to form a surprise attack force. 300 such Homies-type pacifists. As long as the command and scheduling are proper, the role played on the battlefield should not be too small. Enough to give Marine a big surprise, as predicted. Just as the Big Mom pirates were actively preparing for the battle, Wilhelm had just finished testing the performance of the Homies-type pacifist on the 2nd day. That afternoon, the intelligence network of the Charlotte family received the news. Marine did not hesitate to mobilize a large number of troops from the first half of the Grand Line, and formed an elite expedition fleet with a population of more than 50,000. Led by Admiral of Headquarters, Shienshi, Sengoku himself, including Akainu Aokiji, and Kizaru, 3 powerful vice admirals listed as candidates for admiral, a total of 10 naval headquarters vice admirals with amazing strength. In addition, there are 5 vice admirals of the Titan family, and countless other generals and officers. A total of 30 top-level battleships headed towards the waters of New World Todo Land. Mighty and menacing. Oh? Started. Far away in the Isle of Love. Wilhelm, who was exercising his body, had fiery eyes and a fighting spirit. Holding a long sword in his hand, Smoothie, who was sweating profusely just after practicing swordsmanship, had a serious face on his pretty face, and said, "Mom is mobilizing the people on the islands in the Todo landwaters. It seems that we have to ready to go to the Todo landwaters." Still sweating and training, Wilhelm calmly said, Don't worry, we'll talk about it in 2 days. By the way, that Moria guy wants to see you, Smoothie added. Oh? Wilhelm raised his eyebrows, a little surprised, and sneered. A few days ago, you still had an attitude of looking down on death as if you would rather die than surrender. Are you willing to surrender so quickly? After all, he saw with his own eyes that the swordsman Ryoma, who had been dead for hundreds of years, appeared in front of him in a completely resurrected form. He couldn't resist giving in. Smoothie shrugged. Only by relying on you can he have a chance to avenge that monster Kaido of the beasts. Death is not scary. The terrible thing is that after death, not only will the ability be deprived, but the corpse will also be played with. At least, for Gecko Moria, he thinks so. Although it is not clear what price Shimotsuki Ryoma, resurrection, needs. But he is confident enough in himself that he doesn't feel that he is not qualified at all. All in all, there is a high probability that this guy is overconfident and completely misunderstood. Excessively overestimated their worth, but in this way, it can add a lot of power. It's not a bad thing either. That guy is indeed a good combat power. If he can regain his confidence and practice hard, he may be better than Cracker, that crybaby who is afraid of pain. Wilhelm stood up and clapped his hands. Glancing at the distance, Hancock, Tezzolo, Yamato and others who were insisting on training there, took the towel handed by Smoothie, and said indifferently, "Then go and meet him." Wilhelm big brother. At this time, the three of them, Snug, Garrett, and Prim, trotted up. "What's wrong? Little devil?" Wilhelm smiled and asked, "Are you trying to be lazy?" "That's not it. Nah, Wilhelm big brother, I also want to become bigger." Garrett, who was so pale and looks like a porcelain doll, shook her head. She raised her small hand towards Wilhelm, then pointed to Hancock and the others in the distance and said, like Hancock in their schedule. "Me too," said the little fat Snug in a low voice. "Prime too." Prim, who is a half-octopus mermaid loli, also raised her small hand and said loudly. She rode a big bad wolf that was several meters high and full of oppression, that seemed surprisingly docile. This was tamed by her ability to obtain the Paramecia dango fruit that she had just obtained a few days ago. "Nonsense, this is not a joke." Smoothie at the side frowned, reprimanded. "Who told you?" As a member of the Charlotte family, these are her younger brothers and sisters, and she certainly doesn't want them to lose 10 years of life and lose 10 years of youth for no reason. The innocence and carefreeness of childhood are precious when they grow up. Once lost, it can never be found again. It's okay, even if they don't bring it up. After a while, I still plan to do so. Wilhelm waved his hand at Smoothie, and said calmly. "Wilhelm, you." "Okay." Smoothie was a little helpless, but he could only nod in agreement. Between Wilhelm and his 3 brothers and sisters who are not very close, of course she chose to support this brother Wilhelm unconditionally without hesitation. A beautiful figure suddenly appeared. It was directly summoned by Wilhelm with the ability to transfer fruit. Shinobu, who was practicing the 6-style physical skills taught by Wilhelm, was sweating profusely. Seeing that he was suddenly transferred here, he was a little surprised. "Master Wilhelm, Mr. Smoothie. Xiao Ren, you will help the 3 of them grow up for 10 years later." Wilhelm was simple and straightforward, pointing at Snug, Garrett, and Prim. This. Xiao Ren shrank his pupils sharply. She knew very well that these 3 young girls in their early teens were the younger brother and sister of Lord Wilhelm. "You don't have to think so much, just follow my orders." Wilhelm's sharp eyes looked at Xiao Ren quietly, and said lightly, "If you can't abandon your ridiculous kindness, I think you can leave. You are not suitable for this." Patton's ability to transform into a raccoon can also replace your ability to ripen fruit. Seeing how much effort you have made these days, I will let you go. "I'm very sorry, Master Wilhelm." Xiao Ren's complexion turned Shua when he heard the words. She knelt there directly, and said sincerely and anxiously, "Please believe that I have absolutely no intention of questioning or disobeying you." After leaving Wanokuni, she realized the vastness of the outside world. Wanokuni, who stayed behind closed doors, used to be so superficial and ignorant, sitting in a well and watching the sky. Especially when Kurozumi Orochi was killed, the vengeance of the former Lord Kazuki Oden has already been avenged. As for the other murderer, Kaido of the Beasts, it was beyond his ability. She has a clear conscience. Shinobu, who was raised as a ninja since he was a child, should have no personal feelings and only execute orders 100%, is sincerely grateful. Once I lost my allegiance target and was in a daze, I was able to meet this man at this blank and confused time. Regardless of his innate demeanor and courage, he was far superior to the old Odin-sama, and people couldn't help but be impressed by him. Lord Wilhelm, who is willing to follow. Although sometimes, the other party's way of doing things makes me a little uncomfortable. But as a member of the former Shogun royal court, I am used to the filth and darkness among the big names and nobles of Wano-kuni. Generally speaking, such a thing is not unacceptable to her. Over the past few days, she has gradually learned about the outside world. This cruel sea is never black and white, even marine, which holds the banner of justice high, and the world government, which has hundreds of years of history and claims to be a god, are no exception. In Xiao Ren's heart, he never thought about leaving, let alone regretted following the other party. She knew this lord's ambition was very big, beyond her imagination. These days, I have been practicing the 6 styles, unremittingly. I just hope that I can do my part for this adult's hegemony in the future. Instead of being like the former self, I can't do anything except watch the Lord Kazuki Odin being boiled alive in a frying pan. Even if one's own efforts may end up being in vain. Even, that adult may not need her protection. But at least she has tried her best and she has no regrets. Get up. Patting Shinobu on the shoulder, Wilhelm stared at her charming face. It's always good to have a soft heart, but I don't want to have something like this happen again, do you know? Yes, Master Wilhelm. Looking at Wilhelm's unbelievably perfect face in front of him, Xiao Ren had rosy eye circles, bit his lip and nodded heavily. Wilhelm nodded noncommittally. Without further words, he took Smoothie and left. Soon. The Island of Love is located in the dark underground, in a prison built by Dr. Hawkins. Wilhelm came here with Smoothie. Moria, do you want to see me? Wilhelm looked down at Gecko Moria, who was sitting in the prison, who was in a panic, and said lightly, "It seems that you have figured it out." He. No matter how many times I see her, I still find it incredible, she's surprisingly young. Like a little titan, the bloated Moria stood up, staring at the ridiculously young Wilhelm. Big Mom really gave birth to an out-and-out monster. You came to me just to talk nonsense? Wilhelm was expressionless. Those sharp golden eyes looked at him faintly, as if they could directly see through his thoughts. Of course not, he. Moria laughed awkwardly there, and he looked at Wilhelm full of surprise. I didn't expect that even Ryoma, who had been dead for hundreds of years, you could bring him back to life. Although I don't think he is a real Ryoma, it is undeniable that he has great strength. In his opinion, that is definitely not the real swordsman Ryoma. Otherwise, if it can really bring the dead back to life. A while ago, the trembling nobleman invaded Marie Joy's, not just stealing a few devil fruits. Instead, sit directly on the fabled vacant throne. But that is far better than his previous ability to use the fruit of Paramecia Shadow to create zombie soldiers with huge defects by plundering other people's shadows. His observation haki is not a decoration, the sword hero Ryoma gives him the feeling that it is like a terrifying beast. Moria couldn't help but shudder, and then. Wilhelm raised an eyebrow, not caring. Even if you can deprive devil fruit of its ability, even if I gritted my teeth and died stubbornly, it would be worthless. Moria sat there with her ass slumped as if she had lost her strength, and said self-deprecatingly. When Smoothie recruited him earlier, he already knew that the other party had the ability to deprive others of their devil fruit. He who originally thought he would rather die than surrender was really taken aback. Seeing the corpses of Jianao Longma being resurrected made his scalp tingle even more. After struggling for 2 or 3 days, I still don't want to see myself not only have my devil fruit ability taken away, but also my corpse may be played with after death, so I can only give in aggrievedly. The most important thing is that Kaido of the Beasts, who brutally killed all his companions and gave him endless pain and humiliation, is alive and well. Think Kaido of the Beasts. Moria's face became angry and stern, and she gritted her teeth. But only that guy, Kaido, can't be forgiven. He clenched his fists tightly, his veins bulged, his sharp teeth creaked, and he was full of indescribable hatred. I will never forgive that bastard. If you can't witness that bastard's fate and hopeless death in the future, Gecko Moria, who is so generous to his bones, is really not reconciled. Do you want me to help you avenge? Wilhelm's expression didn't change at all. He. Anyway, considering your ambition, it is absolutely impossible for you to be willing to hide in the small sea area of Todo Land and become a mountain king. Sooner or later, you will have a conflict with that bastard Kaido of the Beasts. Moria decided without hesitation. In particular, even the dragon-slaying warriors who have died for hundreds of years will not be spared. Not to mention Kaido of the Beasts as tyrannical to Ultimate's monster, He doesn't think Wilhelm won't be tempted. He looked directly at Wilhelm, and said loudly, "As long as you can release Absalom and Perona, I am willing to follow you." As she said that, Moria actually knelt there and grabbed the ground with her head towards Wilhelm. "Of course, if you can't accept such a condition, you can also regard it as my only request. Please." Lord Moria witnessed this scene. Absalom, who was only a teenager, and Perona, who was only 5 or 6 years old, were completely moved. Crying so hard, tears streaming down my face, I wish I could die for him right away. I have to say, you really treat your subordinates with care. No wonder you hate Kaido of the Beasts so much. Seeing Moria, who was willing to kneel in front of Wilhelm without any falsehood, Muji said with some emotion. If you don't see it with your own eyes. She couldn't believe that a man like Gecko Moria looked like a ghost. He would be willing to kneel down to others for the sake of his subordinates. Wilhelm nodded. I can agree to your terms, however, I still have use for that guy's transparent fruit, I need to peel it off. Seeing Wu raised his head, his eyes instantly turned red, and he stared at his own Gecko Moria as if his eyes were splitting open. Wilhelm said unhurriedly. Don't get excited. I mean when he is still alive, it's not what you imagined. Ryoma's resurrection form, but really keep him alive. Of course, since he is your subordinate, he is also my subordinate. I am not so harsh on myself. Wilhelm didn't shy away from Moria's suspicious gaze, and said directly, as compensation, I can also give him a zone devil fruit ability that can strengthen his body. I think he should be very worried about his weak worry about your body. Moria, I can tell you one thing. Seeing this, Smoothie added with a chuckle. The second son of the Charlotte family, that is, our big brother Katakuri, his original ability of Paramecia Nuo fruit has been replaced by Wilhelm Logia air fruit. If you say this, I think you should believe it to a certain extent, right? Gulu. Absalom swallowed, his scalp tingling. Okay, I believe you. Moria seemed to lose her strength, and laughed at herself. Anyway, in the end, I'm just a prisoner now. Don't say that, since it's my own, I won't treat you badly. With a flick of a finger. Whether it's Moria or Absalom, or the little lowly Perona. The three of them broke free from the restraint of Seastone in an instant, and were transferred out of the cell by Wilhelm. As for Absalom, Wilhelm's incomparably sharp index finger easily pierced through his heart. But an incomparably cold air, as if from the underworld, also froze his whole body. The Paramecia transparent fruit on his body was transferred to the 10 rings by Wilhelm. Don't be like a mindless beast, losing your mind at every turn. Take a good look. Wilhelm's extremely sharp golden pupils coldly stared directly at Moria, who was about to rush up with her face turning red. Gecko Moria felt an inexplicable chill in his heart as he faced those eyes, which were as sharp as a falcon, whose words were so sharp that they pierced the target's heart like a blade, making one unable to help but tremble. He paused subconsciously, and the whole person froze there. Trying to calm himself down, he gasped and said loudly, Okay, I'll take a look, but what I want is the real Absalom, not a counterfeit like the swordsman Ryoma. His eyes were red, staring at Wilhelm's movements and Absalom, who was obviously dead, with half-belief. Lord Moria. To see Absalom killed just like that. Perona, the little lowly, paled in panic, she was terrified. Some nervously clutching Gecko Moria's trouser legs, shivering. Don't disturb. Smoothie was about to stop Moria from approaching rashly. Ching Piao Piao withdrew the electric light that had started to shine without knowing when, and said with a smile, if something goes wrong and his life cannot be saved, then we can't blame us. Who? Huh. While Moria and Perona watched nervously. Accompanied by the dazzling and holy radiance, the cold air from the underworld receded, and the emaciated Absalom sat up abruptly, gasping for breath. I almost thought I was dead. His face was pale, and he looked at Wilhelm with some horror, feeling terrified. Absalom. Is that you? Moria couldn't bear it anymore, and ran up immediately. Staring at Absalom's eyes, examining the other party, holding him tightly and shouting, Are you really Absalom? Of course it's me, Master Moria. Absalom shouted there. Have you forgotten? We met 3 years ago, and then joined the Moria pirates, 2 years ago. He told his past experiences in one breath, which made Moria, who was a bit skeptical, heaved a sigh of relief. Great, it's really you, Absalom. He. Moria laughed. Don't worry, relatively speaking, although he was indeed dead just now, it is only equivalent to a state of suspended animation. The soul was temporarily imprisoned in my body by my ability of using the fruit of the underworld, so he can be easily resurrected, just to strip his body. Paramecia transparent fruit ability. Touching the ring with the ability of transparent fruit among the 10 rings, Wilhelm said lightly there. It will cost a lot for to resurrect a target who has been dead for a long time and whose soul has ascended to heaven in another form. Yes, don't say it's you Gecko Moria himself, I won't be so wasted. Is that so? He. When Moria heard this, her pupils shrank involuntarily. But he quickly recovered and laughed loudly. It seems that I misunderstood earlier. Although it may be that he is self-indulgent, thinking that after depriving himself of the Paramisha shadow fruit ability, the other party will definitely play with his corpse like letting the swordsman Ryoma come back to life. Let him resurrect in an alternative way, for his sake potency. But anyway, since he has made a decision, he will not regret it. I can't use my transparent fruit ability. At this time, Absalom was shocked to find that his transparent fruit ability really couldn't be used. A little shocked and inexplicable, I couldn't believe it. Your abilities are already here. Wilhelm stretched out his left hand. Under the unbelievable gazes of Moria, Absalom and others, starting from his arms, the whole person became transparent at a speed visible to the naked eye. Disappeared in front of Smoothie, Moria and others. Then, at a speed visible to the naked eye, it returned to its original state and appeared there. It never moved at all. It's amazing, it's completely invisible to the naked eye. Smoothie looked at Wilhelm, who disappeared and reappeared one after another. However, for those who have strong enough observation hockey, as long as they are prepared in advance, it is easy to determine the location. It doesn't matter, there are only a handful of people in this sea who can really use observation hockey to completely replace eyes. Wilhelm smiled faintly. Although I still don't know if the ability of Paramisha transparent fruit can be developed to ultimate, whether the breath can become transparent and disappear, but such a special ability will always come in handy. From now on, if he becomes the overlord of this sea, he will be a well-deserved overlord. After collecting enough devil fruits, he may reselect the top devil fruit abilities in the world, and adjust the ability to raise the ring again. But for now, there is no need to worry so much. Brush. Hook your finger. A strange devil fruit appeared directly out of thin air and fell in front of Absalom. Since you are Moria's subordinate, you will be your own from today. Wilhelm looked at Absalom, who was holding the devil fruit, full of astonishment, and said lightly, although you took your Paramisha transparent fruit, but I won't let you suffer. This is the ability of the rare zone dragon fruit ancient species Allosaurus form. How far you can reach in the future depends on yourself. Dragon fruit? Ancient species? Absalom's eyes lit up. Is it the legendary disappeared dinosaur? He has been physically weak since he was a child, and has always been troubled by it, longing to have the wild power of a beast. Now, Wilhelm directly sent such a rare ancient ability to himself. For a while, I was surprised and delighted. Absalom looked at Gecko Moria with fiery eyes. Master Moria. He. Is zone an ancient species? It's really a rare ability. Moria laughed and said, since it is compensation from Master Wilhelm, then you should accept it. Yes, thank you Lord Wilhelm, thank you very much. Absalom was overjoyed to see that Moria did not object. Filled with excitement, he bowed to Wilhelm in thanks. Work hard, I won't treat my own people badly. Wilhelm nodded. Although he doesn't expect Absalom to become such a powerful combat force, but after all, it is only the ability of an ancient species, and he can completely ignore such a price. To be honest, if you only compensate the opponent with one zone's normal ability, there is no problem at all. But Moria had just led 2 subordinates to seek refuge with her, so it would be stingy to do that as a superior. If you are not generous, it will be like buying a horsebone with $1,000. Yes. Seeing his wish fulfilled, Absalom was a little ecstatic, and couldn't wait to eat the dragon fruit, ancient species, and the ability of the Allosaurus form. Moria stared deeply at the ridiculously young Wilhelm, feeling a little emotional. Such a demeanor really made him admire. Originally, Wilhelm forcibly took away Absalom's Paramisha transparent fruit ability. Although he was a little helpless, he still had some complaints in his heart. But now that bit of grudge has completely disappeared. Of course, Moria already knew about Wilhelm's series of sensational deeds these days. Whether it is the ability to deprive others of devil fruit, or directly sneaking into Marie Joy's, the center of the world government, to steal a large amount of devil fruit and other crazy actions. There is no doubt that the other party has a lot of devil fruit in their hands. Moreover, it is not only the ability of such a zone devil fruit. But without hesitation, he gave such a rare zone ancient ability to the mediocre Absalom as compensation for taking away his Paramisha transparent fruit ability. The atmosphere is open and upright, even if it makes people dissatisfied. It seems that you have suffered a lot from Kuer. Wilhelm looked at Gecko Moria, who was still a little weak and embarrassed even after a few days. Noticing that the other party had some shocking scars running from the head to the neck, he said lightly, "Let me help you heal a little by the way." He. Then, thank you. Moria naturally wouldn't refuse, and said with a big smile. Wilhelm stopped talking nonsense, and pressed his left hand directly on him, activating the ability of healing fruit. Swipe. The incomparably holy radiance poured out from the 10 rings, and submerged into Gecko Moria's body. The pains all over his body, even those big and small scars. They are all disappearing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Huh? Master Moria. The scars are all gone. Both Perona and Absalom couldn't help but widen their eyes. Some couldn't believe it, and there was a big change in their appearance. Not only the wounds left by the battle with that feathered serpent Kuer a few days ago have gradually healed, even the wounds that made people feel a little scalp-hairy. All of the old scars that were numb, Moria had been erased by Wilhelm. Even those scars are gone. Thank you so much, Master Wilhelm. At this moment, Moria felt unprecedentedly relaxed. Touching his own wound that ran from the top of his head to his neck and even his abdomen, it really had completely disappeared, and he couldn't help but be overjoyed. Moria, although I can use Paramecia Healing Fruit's ability to help you eliminate those scars on your body. Wilhelm looked directly at him, and said lightly, but the wounds on your soul can only be seen by yourself. If you can't get out, you will be like this for the rest of your life. Spiritual wounds. The fist that was once tightly clenched, with bulging veins, slowly loosened again. Moria, who pretended to be relaxed, showed a hearty smile. He. As expected of Mr. Wilhelm, you really have insight into the details. Well, anyway, I can't rush it, take it slowly. Wilhelm shrugged. He glanced at Perona and Absalom who were following Moria, then turned his head to look at Smoothie. From today on, the two of them will train with Hancock and the others. You can arrange it, see Sister Muji. No problem. Smoothie nodded with a smile. Yes, Master Wilhelm. Naturally, Perona and Absalom did not dare to refuse, and nodded like chickens pecking at rice. At this time, Smoothie was taken aback, with a strange expression on his face. Look at Wilhelm. Huh? What's the matter? Wilhelm looked at her. Smoothie looked at him and said, Wilhelm, you are back. Oh? Wilhelm chuckled lightly. It looks like there shouldn't be any accidents. Let Moria and the others be a little confused. Without meaning to explain, Wilhelm thought for a moment. Directly transfer Smoothie, Moria and others from the underground prison to the ground of the Island of Love. Wilhelm big brother, sister Smoothie, at this time. 3 figures ran over. They are all in their early 20s. One is a tall and slender beauty with fair skin. One is a tall, bloated, fat man with a fleshy face and a fierce face. One is a beautiful woman with octopus feet, but a human upper body, an excellent figure, and a wheat-colored complexion. It can be seen vaguely, the shadows of Garrett, Snug, and Prim before. Yo, my Garrett has really grown up. Looking at the 18th daughter of the Jonglote family who has turned from 12 to 22 years old, with long pink hair, exquisite facial features, unbelievably fair skin, and a tall figure, jaw. Stretching out his hand to embrace the little girl who rushed over excitedly and threw herself directly at him, Wilhelm looked at her and said with a light smile. She was wearing a red shoulder-length skirt, a brown headdress, a pair of black ladies' gloves between her hands, and a pair of red high heels, showing her perfect curves and tall figure to the fullest. There is really a bit of innocent aristocratic temperament that other members of the Charlotte family do not have. He. Does Wilhelm big brother like Garrett like this? Garrett raised her head, blinked her big eyes, and asked expectantly. Of course. The current Garrett is a beautiful woman. Wilhelm let go of her, pinched Garrett's face and smiled. As he said that, he looked at the half-octopus mermaid who had turned from 10 years old to 20 years old. He had an outstanding figure and was looking forward to his beauty Prim. He was not stingy with his admiration, and said with a light smile, and you too, Prim. Really? Great. With Wilhelm's affirmation, Prim was very happy. What about me? What about me, Wilhelm big brother? Snag, a big fat man with a face full of flesh, shouted there. You look taller, boy, but you are also fiercer and fatter. Looking at Snug who is taller than himself, Wilhelm said angrily, but the strength is still weak point. Since you have all grown up, you must work harder to cultivate from today. Wilhelm looked serious. Looking directly at several young members of the Charlotte family, he said, from now on, the training will be doubled, and I will supervise you, you know? Anyone who can't stand it can go directly to Cake Island. The Charlotte family doesn't need such waste. If hard work doesn't yield anything, he can still understand and won't force it. After all, everyone's talents are more or less different, which is inherently doomed. But if you don't even work hard, you just want to enjoy yourself comfortably. Don't even try to come to him. Yes, Wilhelm. We will try. Not long. A snow-white giant eagle flapped its wings from afar. Above, there is a silver cold and arrogant figure impressively. Let the snow mastiff Fingley, who was training with Pato there, yelled, "Wow." It ran out straight away, directly turning into a snow-white eagle, soaring into the sky. Two snow-white vultures hovered there, brush. Without warning. In front of Wilhelm, there was one more identical figure. Most importantly, there was a civet cat on his shoulder. Wilhelm looked at the self in front of him, without any surprise at all, and asked directly, "Did you bring it back?" It took a long time to find out the specific location of Punk Hazard. There are several CP0 agents with amazing strength, who are always guarding Dr. Vegapunk's side, monitoring him in disguise. Another, Wilhelm, replied blankly, and handed a blue apple with strange lines to Wilhelm. "I can only follow your order and take away this artificial phantom beast quietly. Fruit." And replaced it with another seemingly identical failure from the laboratory, which was not found, but Vegapunk destroyed all the data. Well, at least I didn't get nothing, and I didn't startle the snake. Wilhelm took the blue, full of strange man-made devil fruit, hid it. He was long before he came back from Wano-kuni. Just used the ability of Padona's dog fruit, phantom beast species, and raccoon form to conjure himself, Fingry, and Pado. The most incredible thing about the civet cat, Pado's strange phantom beast and raccoon form ability is that it transformed directly from the deformed leaf also has the ability of the phantom beast and raccoon form. It is simply infinite dolls. Although the effect is not as good as the main body, it is quite amazing. Wilhelm directly asked them to look for Punk Hazard. If there is a chance, bring back Vegapunk, a genius scientist. If there is no chance, try to bring back this artificial dragon fruit, phantom beast species, dragon without attracting attention. Form of devil fruit. Wilhelm, is this the artificial devil fruit you speak of? Lightning flashed. With the heartnet, listen to the conversation between Wilhelm and Wilhelm. Smoothie, who came here directly, looked at the strange dark blue fruit in Wilhelm's hand, a little surprised and inexplicable. Let Dr. Hawkins study it first. Maybe we can gain something. Wilhelm didn't intend to let Yamato eat it so quickly. He was also very interested in man-made devil fruit. Even if it's not as perfect as Vegapunk, it's good even if it's worse. As long as it can increase the combat effectiveness of the capable person. Minimize side effects as much as possible.